Anyway, all right, we're done. I can't believe I spent the first 44 minutes of this broadcast giving you guys an update on Wembanyama. And barely fucking blasted off. But yeah, that was no personal news beyond that, honestly. I woke up, I played a little bit of basketball, I was in the sun a little bit. I need to get back to both toning my body and tanning my body, okay? Last year around this time, I was in the best fucking shape of my life. I had a six-pack. I was under the sun all the goddamn time. I was tan. I was doing a lot more cardio. And I was in a much better position overall. You spent 44 minutes talking about how my team is going to get spanked by a mutant alien in the WCF. Yes, but it's true. No disrespect, you know? No gaming, but we get a basketball yapping sesh. Yeah, it's about to be slut boy summer, okay? And I need to get ready for it. And if you can't tone it, you tan it, okay? And right now, I'm not tanning it, and I'm certainly not fucking toning it. All right. Yes, I saw. The Oklahoman publishes and deletes op-ed comparing Oklahoma City Thunder to Israel. I think I'm going to have to take up recreational alcoholism as long as the rest of the world seems to have. Broke. It's anti-Semitic not to root for OK City Thunder. Woke. The OK City Thunder must be returned to their ancestral Zionist homeland in Seattle. Oh, man. You're 35, ain't no slut boy summer for you. Bro, 35 is basically the new 25. Okay, calm down. Did you read the actual article? No, I didn't. I did not. Okay. Yeah, opinion. The parallels between Oklahoma City Thunder and the nation of Israel are difficult to ignore. Neither was supposed to become what it is. Like Thunder, Israel is an underdog that has become hated. Yo, bro, they let you write this stuff. You didn't have a single person in your life that was like, hey man, maybe you shouldn't put this out. Like you shouldn't fucking put that out. It's not going to be good. Okay. It's not going to look good. It's not going to be good. It's not good for OKC Thunder at all. This is really fucking the game up. This is really fucking the bag up for our boys here. Okay. They're already going to have a tough time against Wemby, and you're making it much, much worse. As someone who watched my go get fucking swept by the Oklahoma City Thunder, I will say they are basketball terrorists. They are terrorists. Okay, so in that regard, yes, the Israel analog works. Okay, it does. They were terrorists. Oh my God. When you have such a fucking deep bench, you get the hack all the time. Okay? And just like the nation state of Israel, you can basically buy the referees. Okay? So yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Maybe I'm a little bitter. Okay? Maybe I'm a little bitter because you shouldn't do that to the elderly. You should not do that to the elderly. Have some damn respect. Have some decency. Okay? Luka's already gone. You don't have to sweep him. Let him have one. Let him have one fucking game. You're really not going to do that? Oh, we're sweeping. Fuck you. That's terrorism. Okay? Anyway. Just like Israel, OKC gets to do whatever they want on defense, but as soon as you touch shy, it's free throws. Yes, this is true. The Israel analog does work here. It really does. It really does. It really does. I shouldn't say it, but it's true. Yeah. OKC, tiny nation. Small team, size of New Jersey, size of Oklahoma City. Oh, it's not a big team. Oh, it's not a big franchise team. Very tiny. Very tiny basketball team. Oh. Surrounded by scary, big city teams. Oklahoma City, very tiny. This analogy is getting too real. Yeah, no, exactly. Oh, okay. Is Oklahoma City not allowed to defend itself? Huh? Huh? Not allowed to defend itself? Oh. I'll resub again next month. Use my prime this month on Chauncey. Barry Haynes, 27 months you've been in here. And all of a sudden, you're like, the Macy sent a playlist earlier, by the way. Yeah, I think I have it. Or maybe I don't. Where's the Tomasius playlist? Complex ranked me number 22. Yeah, that's a bit of a L, I'll be honest. But I saw, where is it? I think I clicked on a link. Yeah, here it is. Complex ranks 25 best streamers right now. They put me at fucking 22, bro. I'm ass. Last year I was like top 5. Now I'm fucking barely cracking top 25. It's over. It's Jover for me. I'm done. I'm washed. Kai Cenat hasn't even streamed in like a year. What the hell is going on? It's over. I'm washed. I'm done. At least I beat Jinxie though, which is again also kind of strange because like I feel like Jinxie should be way higher, no? Mogged by Academics? Wait, where the fuck is... Oh my God! DJ Academics at 17? Bruh. It's over. I'm killing myself, bro. Fuck it. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's over. Oh, it's done. Yep. Sorry. RIP everybody. This was it. This was it. All of the fucking million articles talking about how I'm a terrorist. All that stuff was meaningless until I found out that I am so low on a list in comparison to DJ Wackademics. A Drake fan made that list. Yeah. Tucker went on Israeli TV. Oh, shit. The Miami Heat is actually the most moral, the most honorable basketball team in the league. Oh, yeah. I mean, dude. I mean, is this surprising to you? It's Miami. Miami is literally little Tel Aviv. Bro, I'm in the trenches on Twitter defending Shoykot. What is going on with the San Francisco left between this and the LA mayor? The state is so busted, man. Guys, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. There is nothing productive that will come out of drawing the enmity of the San Francisco left, okay? You shouldn't do that. You should just, anytime someone tells you like, oh, Shoykot is actually like a secret Elon Musk. What is this? This might interest you because it's surprising. Emily Tamkin from The Forward said people are misrepresenting your views and it's counterproductive to deplatform. Can Hassan Piker be deplatformed? The Canadian Jewish News. This is from 1 day ago. Wait, what? Someone is defending me out of nowhere? What the hell?
No. I agree with that. And I think that's right. And I think part of this is people ascribing sort of policy motivation to him that he doesn't necessarily have, or taking, like, this is somebody who's talking for hours on end and taking one comment and being like, that's a really deeply thought out comment, which it may be, right? I'm sure that they're, you know, I'm not trying to say that he like, oh, he doesn't really mean it. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that I think that we are giving some of these statements policy weight.
87 views, brother. Man, shut the fuck up. It's still important that like someone at The Forward randomly is defending me. Guys, not everything is just about, oh my God, please. Okay. Sometimes you guys go, oh, this person only has 10 likes. Like, you behave like an idiot because you don't understand that The Forward is a very well-read a Jewish newspaper, okay? So if there's an editor or if there's a journalist on The Forward randomly going on a Canadian broadcast to defend me, yeah, that's like fairly consequential. It's not fucking, you know, just 84 views. Who gives a shit? Not defending is trying to convince them to rethink their strategy is advice to them. They say that because you say that, lol. No, there are instances where it's like utterly irrelevant. If a fucking random YouTuber with like 12 subscribers has made a fuck Hassan video, obviously that's not consequential. But if like a think tank or someone who writes for a much larger newspaper or you know, someone from like Third Way is like writing an article, like yeah, it doesn't matter even if people aren't fucking watching that shit. It still has a lot more motion, a lot more emphasis in the in crowd. Okay. And yes, we will talk about, views and influence are two separate things. Exactly. If you are an influencer and you have no views, then obviously you're, unfortunately a little irrelevant. But if you have influence and you have no views, that's still relevant to discuss.
That they don't have, because we're talking about a streamer, not a staff writer.
Well, it's tricky. I mean,
but who's engaging with politicians, right?
Right. I mean, I would say, like, I think it does matter a lot. And that's why this is kind of hard to discuss, because I think you have this valence that's really dominant now on the right, where it's like, I'm joking, but I'm not joking. I'm trolling, but I'm not trolling. And it seems that he does the same thing, but on the left. So
she did say you have been misrepresented at 8:30, but of course she's not a fan of yours. Okay.
It's not just that he's the Joe Rogan of
the
left.
That's why it was shocking. Because the Forward is not exactly a fan of mine. As a institution, I wouldn't expect the Forward to be like, the Forward will sometimes have writers that the Forward would sometimes have writers that could be like agnostic to my position. But as far as like the Jewish papers goes, you got JTA, you got the Forward. Jewish Insider is obviously like the maximum pro AIPAC, like right wing think tank backed newspaper that you barely can call a newspaper. Of course, many of these institutions are pro-Israel. Jewish Currents is the only one I would say that isn't like a pro-Israel at all. It's an anti-Zionist for the most part. It's a socialist publication. By the way, I had a conversation with Jewish Currents as well. I don't know if it's going to come out soon or not, but regardless. Anyway, let's continue. Let's watch.
Young men who are very online are aware of who he is. I think with Joe Rogan, it's not just that demographic, but regardless, there's something where that is politics now. You know what I mean? And like the staff writer can write some kind of staid thing or be replaced by an AI that writes the staid thing. And then you have somebody like this who's sort of like saying the absolute edgiest thing. Mm-hmm. And then that is the mainstream now.
Right. And I guess the point that I was trying to get across in that article is that I think this is so the question is then, what do you do with that? Right? Mm-hmm. You try to say, okay, this person is off limits and we can't engage with him because of the edgiest version of what he said. Do you try to parse these different comments? Do you try to engage but push back at times? And I think, to me, what's been interesting is that some of what he said has been really almost completely misrepresented in order to sort of paint everything that he said with this broad anti-Semitic brush to say he should be totally off limits, we can't engage with him. And I guess what I argue in that piece is that if your goal is really to try to push back on anti-Semitism in American, Canadian, et cetera, political discourse, I think we really need to think about, okay, well, what is it that I'm trying to do? And is my current behavior helping me reach those goals? Because, for example, you had some people say that he he loves violence and he boosted the attack in Boulder, Colorado. This was an arson attack on a walk in support of the hostages. And in fact, he condemned it, right? I don't.
Yeah. So I think what she's saying is like, she disagrees with me vehemently on my assessment of like the Palestinian resistance and whatnot. But she's also frustrated that like, this is like consistently misrepresenting my positions when I have the exact opposite positions end up serving my purpose because I have a platform and people actually can see what I'm genuinely saying. It has the exact opposite effect. When you come and you say like the classic misrepresentation that gets played all the time is like, oh, it doesn't matter if rapes happened, right? Like that one. That argument is so well defined for most people, and it's one that most people agree with. Like sexual violence, the occurrence of sexual violence on October 7 does not justify genocide. Okay? That sentiment is the overwhelming majority's position. But when you turn around and you say, oh, look at him, like he said this gross thing, but then people actually scratch the surface of that quote and they realize, like within context, it's actually a very agreeable statement. They go, oh, there is this misrepresentation taking place once again, and it undermines the credibility of the anti-Semitism allegations against those who actually are anti-Semitic as well. Because when you deploy that over and over and over again to people who are very careful not to be anti-Semitic, people who actually do fight against anti-Semitism at a time when most people have completely given up on even fighting that battle whatsoever, it makes people go, you say that about everybody. And that is where people like Nick Fuentes actually do thrive. That's an environment where people like Nick Fuentes thrive, because regardless of the fact that he is truly a Holocaust denier and even a Holocaust enjoyer, because people have heard, the broader marketplace has heard false allegations of anti-Semitism so frequently being used against any and every critic of Israel, he can hide in that crowd. He can be like, I'm just critical of Israel, and that's why they're calling me an anti-Semite. It's poisonous to discourse in general. She did say you have been misrepresented, but of course she's not a fan of yours. She wants them to rethink their strategy, I guess. She later goes on to say deplatforming Nick Fuentes is worth it, but it's not worth it for Hassan. Interesting.
I don't think that that's helpful to our goal of making it of having mainstream, not just mainstream, broad, near universal recognition that violence against Jews is wrong, right? Like to just misrepresent what somebody says. And so I think there's sort of two entangled but separate questions, which is one, how do you engage with this non-political political figure? And two, how do you make sense of, how do you do so in a way that is helpful and not hurtful to Jews, you know?
So I have, I think that's all very smart. And I have a couple sort of questions that get at this from different angles. Before we will, I promise, address.
Have you considered having a conversation? So she probably has. I'm not very familiar with what's going on here, what this conversation is all about. But I will say this. I wanted to have that conversation. That's why I went to the Jewish Telegraphic Agency, right? I went to the JTA to have that conversation. And they literally used and abused the fucking, hour and a half that I gave JTA to basically do the exact same like ADL press release on the first half and then barely put a couple quotes from that long hour and a half conversation I had at the tail end, burying the lead. So I do think it's productive. I do think it's good to have this kind of conversation, because I do think that like these people are convincible, regardless of how inundated they are with like pro-Israel sentiment, regardless of how important Israel might have been in their development, in their social conditioning. I think everyone is salvageable. I think everyone can be convinced. Of course, I believe that, right? Suck them? ? Why is he wearing a Democratic Socialist cap? What do you mean? I'm wearing a Philadelphia Democratic Socialists of America hat today because Philly DSA is out there door knocking, getting people out to vote. It's the midterms, baby. The midterms are upon us. Anyway,
the whole Gia Tolentino Lemon issue,
sure.
because it's very entertaining. And also, I might ask you, just because I saw that you've written about this, briefly about Lena Dunham and her reputation.
For sure.
Her sort of revival, her comeback. I read the book. Did you read?
Did you read
Famous? Oh, okay. So I won't.
All right. I don't know. Loser. Oh, that's not nice. I think you're a winner, Chatter. Some might say you're teetering on the verge of socialism, my guy. It continues in a bit.
For someone who shares many of the criticisms, and you're more of like Adam, kind of want to silence such people. But let's say your one is criticisms of Israel up for discussion. Obviously not all, but many of them. And I don't mean you personally, but just if one is, you would not want to silence such people. But let's say you're somebody who doesn't, and you're more in the kind of anti-Zionism. Is anti-Semitism school, or the sort of like Adam Lewis Klein, the thing to fight? Is anti?
Oh my God, really? You're come on, Adam Lewis Klein. You're bringing up Adam fucking Lewis Klein. He is Adam Lewis Clown. Okay. Ridiculous. That's the reply bot on Twitter. That's always like, anti-Zionism is the real form of anti-Semitism. It's just like guys like that unironically contribute to that mass hysteria, that mass delusion. Okay. It's unbelievably unproductive to listen to people like that. Okay. You're just in a fucking hug box surrounded by normies that you will never be able to understand because he's telling you all manner of anti-Zionist thought, all manner of criticism directed at the beautiful nation state of Israel is coming from a deeply anti-Semitic place. That's not helpful for you. Continues at 12. Just check.
Zionism
Okay.
school or one of those schools, right? If you're someone like that, would they or should they change their principles just because they see that opinion polling is showing that theirs is a losing cause? Like, I guess I'm wondering, how would you convince somebody who doesn't think that that somebody like Hassan Piker is fundamentally coming from the right place, but too much of a provocateur and saying some nasty things, but somebody who just genuinely thinks he's wrong,
Right.
politically, like, how do they engage? You know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. And I think it's a hard question because I think that his popularity around specifically this issue is a symptom, not the cause. Like, this is my personal feeling, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that it's the case that people are listening to Hassan Piker and therefore they're becoming more critical of Israel or they're becoming anti-Zionist. I think that if you look at, as you say,
I do think that that's happening, for the record. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but that definitely played a big role, for sure.
all of the polling really in the last 2 years, particularly Democratic voters in the United States have shifted. They're now more sympathetic to Palestinians. They're more critical of
I
Israel.
guess she's right, though. Yeah, no, it is a broader systemic shift. No, I agree with that.
This is including, by the way, Democrats over the age of 50 who I think are not getting their views or their news from Piker.
No,
Yeah.
they're right there with me on Poshmark looking at the
Right, exactly.
used
They're
clothing.
or Ashley dresses. Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that raises the question of like, well, why is that? I'm just going to say, I think it's primarily their views are being driven by the conflict itself, right? By Israel itself. They're seeing that they also spent last summer reading about Israel not letting food into Gaza. And the people who have these views might say, well, it's more complicated than that. That's not fair. Okay, fine. But my point is that the reason that people are changing their minds is not Hassan Piker. And if you say he has to be persona non grata, I'm going to call any politician who appears with him or who talks to him or who uplifts him or who, whatever, an anti-Semite, I really think that all you're doing, I actually think that you're making your cause look worse because you can't even defend it. Like, you're not trying to engage on the merits anymore. You're not trying to say, no, here's why it's more complicated. Here's why it's wrong. You're not trying to go to your partners in Israel and say, hey, like, here's how this is playing in the United States and Canada and wherever else. You're just trying to shut down the discussion around it. And as Jay,
I missed most of the segment about how she's being so charitable. This is good. It's good because I think some people are genuinely like, I don't know what this person's background is. I don't know what this person's like opinion is on Israel, right? But if she's a forward writer, I suspect that she's obviously sympathetic to Israel. She's pro-Israel, right? Maybe a liberal Zionist. But the fact that American Jews have a Hassan Piker problem, solving it is going to hurt. This is what she wrote on April 25th. I didn't even read this, but I suspect that Piker's popularity is a clear sign that we must adjust our tactics for fighting anti-Semitism, not double down on condemnation. But I think this is more so coming at it with a recognition that, like, you can't call, basically, here, I'll summarize it. I didn't even read it, but I think what she's saying is stop calling everyone a fucking anti-Semite and demanding their condemnation, because all we're doing is condemning ourselves. Okay? We're an increasingly smaller and smaller group of people in American mainstream discourse. We get a lot of prominence in mainstream media, but we're deluding ourselves into thinking that we have the same institutional motion to deny people access to discourse at a time when, the overwhelming majority of Americans agree with people like myself. They might not identify the same issues. They might not be tackling the problem from the same root causes, but they broadly agree. And anytime you say people like myself are deeply anti-Semitic or whatever, you're not reaching if your goal is to stop people from paying attention to someone like myself, you're failing, which is true. It's what I've said as well. That's why when I was getting inundated with a barrage of like Hassan is anti-Semitic pieces, Hassan is a terrorist pieces, what did I tell you? I was like, it's not a big problem at all. As a matter of fact, it's beneficial, because the reality of the matter is normies nowadays don't fuck with Israel at all. And when they hear someone getting called an anti-Semite, when the median voter hears someone getting called an anti-Semite, it doesn't cause them to immediately shy away from exploring what this person is saying. As a matter of fact, it actually works in the opposite direction. And that has broader systemic consequences, broader systemic problems, because there are real anti-Semites out there. So just fucking, try to dial in on the actual anti-Semites instead of fucking calling every critic of Israel an anti-Semite across the board. It's very stupid. A flawed strategy. If pushing back against anti-Semitism is the top priority for our community, I suspect that writing Piker off as an anti-Semite with whom engagement simply can't be countenanced will do more harm than good. There are plenty of things Hassan Piker has said that I, too, find offensive. I agree with him that Hamas' horrific actions on October 7, including acts of sexual violence, don't justify the slaughter of Palestinian civilians in Gaza. But I think saying that it doesn't matter whether rape happened amid the Hamas attack, as Piker has, is a cruel and callous way to make that particular point. And while anti-Zionism is not categorically anti-Semitism, I think Hassan Piker's statement that anyone who has exhibited positive feelings about the state of Israel should be barred from consideration for any position of import, including the fucking local dog catcher, runs the risk of creating a litmus test for Jewish participation in civic life. That's a concern I hope people running to be elected officials in a pluralistic society take seriously. But to say that Piker, whose fervent anti-Zionism can cross over into potentially damaging and derisive territory, is akin to Nick Fuentes, a Holocaust denier whose entire worldview is underpinned by the idea that Jews are evil and exploitative, is to make a claim that there is little evidence to support. The distinction matters. Fuentes' anti-Semitism is so extreme and all-encompassing that his fans and followers will never be allies to American Jews. There is little evidence to believe the same is true for Piker. To successfully fight anti-Semitism, American Jews need a broad base of allies. In that context, Piker's audience, including the nearly 3 million followers on the streaming platform Twitch, is one that it would be a mistake for us to wholly write off. Many people who follow Piker may agree both with his condemnation of Israel's government and his condemnation of the deadly attack on a 2025 hostage solidarity walk in Boulder, Colorado. Those people can help in the fight against American anti-Semitism, but not if we completely refuse to engage with them. She's basically saying that Hassan is being misrepresented in Jewish newspapers for the most part and in broader mainstream media. And that's actually damaging because even with the limited experience that she has, I assume, with my commentary, she has seen enough of my defense of Jewish people as a whole and also my defense against anti-Semitism, my consistent combating of anti-Semitism, that it's a stupid and silly endeavor to just like write off people both in my audience and write off someone like myself. I don't even know if this is as like tactical as I initially assumed it was. I don't even think this is like a change of tactics. It's more so a demand to an audience that's like a little bit hysterical about criticisms of Israel to just like dial it the fuck back, because there are clearly people that are anti-Israel that are not anti-Semitic, and I'm one of those people, even if I use vulgar language at times. If American Jews' goal is to discourage anti-Semitism and encourage people to speak thoughtfully and empathetically about Jews, then treating Piker as someone too extreme to engage with risks sending a message that Jews don't want allies on the left. This echoes a problem that arose during last year's New York City mayoral race. Some Jewish groups discounted now Mayor Zohran Mamdani's substantial efforts at Jewish outreach, instead focusing wholly on criticism of Israel. In practice, that choice risks suggesting that there was no reason for Mamdani to bother trying to support New York Jews because given his stance on Israel, no positive actions he could take would ever be enough. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, they still do it. I mean, Zohran Mamdani had an exclusively Jewish event last night for Jewish Heritage Month, and virtually all of the pro-Israel groups that were invited to this event openly released statements denying that they would ever attend, and that Zohran was a fucking arch anti-Semite because he denied the existence of Israel as a demographic majority Jewish state. Okay? It's totally fucking ridiculous. So the silver lining here is that even amongst like liberal Zionists, for example, there is now amongst liberal Zionists, there is now a change in attitude where they're not so aggressively. They're not so like there are people who are now urging a change in tactics. So that means that like there are even some people amongst like the pro-Israel crowd that recognizes that this is like totally unsustainable, the way that they've approached the issue, and it comes across as like outright hysterical, and it pushes people away. There has been a push today to say he's anti-Semitic and how he held the event. Yeah, I know. It's fucking ridiculous, dude. It's nasty. It's disgusting. It's ridiculous. It's delusional. It's unproductive, and it leans into the fucking hysteria. And once again, it causes especially American Jews over the age of like 50 to live in a totally different environment. Okay? You're literally just creating fear and hysteria at that point. And it's this like never ending cycle. And you're outcasting yourself from regular polite society. It's fucking insane. I don't understand it. I don't understand what you get out of doing this, because it's gone. It's over. You know what I mean? Israel has done such horrible things in fucking broad daylight, in a way that even Americans, that are some of the most propagandized people, can see and understand. And once those approval ratings swapped, where now more people in the United States of America are sympathetic to the Palestinians over Israelis, sympathetic to Palestine over Israel, it's done. You have to come to that recognition. It's never going to change. And, as American Jews, you got to fucking figure out why that swap happened. And you can't just automatically say, oh, it must be because everyone is anti-Semitic. Because the idea that like all of this enmity towards Israel is coming from anti-Semitism, and not because your emotional support apartheid state doing a genocide is seen as a gross entity, is only going to foment more anti-Semitism, because it's like forcibly tying all American Jews back to the state of Israel. Anyway.
Nicholson, who's also a columnist at The Forward, has put it, in some ways and I want to say like anti-Semitism is the fault of anti-Semites, right? So I'm not trying to say that these people are, who are doing this are to blame for anti-Semitism. But as Jay Michelson said, like, in a way, it does confirm an anti-Semitic prior, which is that like, oh, look, you're not allowed to criticize the Jews, right? Because now they're shutting them down and now they're calling anti-Semites. And I think there are times when that's worth it, right? Like, I personally think that saying we won't engage with Nick Fuentes, who's a literal Holocaust denier, like, yeah, you can say that that's the Jews exercising too much power. I think that's worth it. I think that's worth the calculation. I just don't.
Yeah, but consistently putting me in the fucking crosshairs, obviously, consistently putting me in the crosshairs undermines the anti-Semitism allegations against actual anti-Semites. That's the reason why the deplatforming conversation has completely shifted at this point, and it's not working any longer. You know what I mean? What the fuck is this? Why are you guys spamming scuba? The fuck is happening in the chat?
See how it is in this case. And I don't think I'm telling people to abandon their principles, right? Like, I understand that what he's saying is extremely offensive to them. There are things that he says that are extremely offensive to me, but I guess where I get stuck is, but how does trying to say that he's the same as Nick Fuentes, or how does trying to say that any politician who appears with him will never get your, like, how does this get you closer to what you want?
Well, isn't it sort of an Overton window thing, right? It's like,
right.
If you can make it, if you win, and you I mean, so that kind of gets to my next question, which is something that I've been thinking about a lot in a variety of cases, and this kind of interests me because it's such an interesting illustration of it. I'm not a Mideast expert. That is not really my area, but it's more the discourse aspect. And obviously, always the stuff with the Jewish angle, being that this is the Jewish angle. But I wanted to just talk about this question of platforming, because people talk about this a lot. And because it just sort of hit me that we're kind of talking about two different questions. One is whether Hassan Piker specifically, or any individual specifically, is someone either of us would or wouldn't want to platform.
Right.
The other is whether deplatforming itself is even meaningfully possible, whether that's even a thing. And I just want to pause for a moment on that.
What the fuck just happened?
أكثر عن السؤال الأول.
Did it just like automatically dub? Wait, what the fuck? Why is the audio track Arabic, bro? I'm trying to swap it back to English. Wait, what? Wait, actually, what the fuck is happening?
No. I sure they're now more sympathetic to else. He has to be primarily their views are being driven by the conflict itself, right? By Israel itself. Well, why is that?
What just happened? Actually, what just fucking happened? They disabled it to stop you from watching?
I'm just gonna say, I think it's primarily their views are being driven by the conflict itself, right? By Israel.
Anyway, all right, whatever. That's good. All right, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's primary day. It's election day in the United States of America. In numerous states, Kentucky, Georgia, and Pennsylvania, to name a few, and we are getting ready to rumble.
Holy Toledo.
Philly, go out and vote. Georgia, go out and vote. Kentucky, go out and vote. Charles Booker, but also maybe Thomas Massey. I don't know. You know? Holy Toledo, folks. I'm going to go pee real quick while this plays.
Quite a few states right now, polls are open. In Georgia, Alabama, Pennsylvania, and Kentucky, a race with huge stakes and major amounts of money poured into it. President Trump has been putting in the work to unseat Republican incumbent Thomas Massey. The congressman has clashed with Trump White House over several key issues and pushed for the release of the Epstein files. We have reporters on the ground following these key races today. Jeff Zellenby is in Covington, Kentucky, and Danny Freeman is in Allentown, Pennsylvania. First to you, Jeff. So far, things have been open for a bit here, a couple hours plus. What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Hey, Sarah, good morning. Yes, voters here have been voting since 6 a.m. here in northern Kentucky, a steady stream of voters. And certainly we have talked to those who are supporting Thomas Massey. They said that they actually like how he stands up to President Trump. And we've talked to voters who are supporting his opponent, Ed Gallrein, saying that it's time for President Trump to have his own Republican congressman in office. So we will see how this voting goes. But it's really reflective of this very tight race here. President Trump, I'm told by his advisors, has been fixated on this contest. He, of course, has been trying to unseat Thomas Massey for more than a year or so. Well, last night we caught up with the congressman to ask him about the nationalization of this race.
This race has been nationalized, as you well know, talking about the revenge tour and the revenge list. Do you think that that's how voters here in Kentucky see this race?
I don't think so. They don't know what happened to Bill Cassidy or to those senators in Indiana. And both of those situations are unique from mine. Bill Cassidy voted to impeach the president. That's something I've never done and I would never do. And his constituents were mad about that, right?
God, I fucking love Thomas Massey so much. He is such a freak, dude. What a rare bird he is. He's like, I'm so much more MAGA than Bill Cassidy. I would never vote to impeach Donald Trump. It's awesome. It's awesome. He's so awesome. Libertarian final boss? Absolutely. Yes. Thomas Maserati, baby. Gaia! What are you doing? What are you doing? Hello! Hello! Okay, don't go in there. Don't go in there. You know not to go in there. Oh my God. You American fuckers love nationalizing your elections, but not your healthcare services. I mean, we don't even have any fucking healthcare services. Let's be real. We're talking about Kentucky. All right, bro, chill out. Jesus Christ. What the fuck? Stop having a fucking medical incident in the chat. Jesus Christ. He's like, oh, how do you unlock collective consciousness, chat? Blah, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up.
I'm still with my constituents, in spite of the billionaires spending millions of dollars to convince them I'm not. I think most of my constituents know that because I've been at this 14 years. I haven't changed at all.
So that, of course, is an interesting point there. Congressman Massey has long been opposed to spending bills. He's long been a bit of a contrarian. The Republican Party has changed dramatically during this time, of course, during the Donald Trump presidency. But this is one of the most, if not the most expensive House primaries ever. More than $30 million spent. I'm on the race here and talking to voters. There's a sense of exhaustion as well. But Sarah, this is
now officially the most expensive primary race in the history of the United States of America. Number 2 and number 3 were Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush. Now, what's the connective tissue there? Why? Why is the number 1 most expensive primary race in the history of the United States of America and the number 2 most expensive primary race and the number 3 most expensive primary race in the history of American elections? What could it be? What is the thing that connects Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, 2 Democrats, and Thomas fucking Massey? That's right. It's Israel. It's just broad fucking daylight. They are literally subverting the democratic process. A foreign lobby for a foreign state. The number 1 ally of the United States of America. Okay? Small nation, tiny nation, size of New Jersey. Surrounded by scary Muslims. That's what it is. No politic here. Do not say Israel is buying seats. How dare you? How dare you say Israel buying seats?
An important point to keep in mind. This is a closed primary. That means only Republicans can vote in this primary. We've talked to several Democratic voters here who said they would have liked to have supported Congressman Massey, but he was not on their ballot. So that is something to keep in mind as we go through the day here. Only registered Republicans can vote in this congressional primary, but a very close one that the White House is keeping a very close eye on, Sarah.
Yes, I think you're reporting spot on, especially when people are exhausted. I talked to one Kentucky voter who was like, I just want this to be over at this point, but it will happen today. Thank you so much, Jeff. Let's go now to Danny. Governor Josh Shapiro looking to leave his mark, of course, on Pennsylvania.
What is this? Genuinely, you should check your login location history on your Google account. What, you think my Google account got boomed? And that's why I'm getting, that's why I just like auto swap to Arabic translation. Is that what you think is going on? You think I got hacked? Maybe.
Politics with the win today, but he's also trying to, as Donald Trump is, kind of put his finger on the scale, although Trump is doing it for revenge. What are you learning here?
Yeah, that's right, Sarah. There are 2 real big storylines happening in Pennsylvania today. One is some of these swing districts that really the control of the House of Representatives come November could flow through here. And then the other is Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's influence on all of that. Let me start with why we're in Allentown in this specific district. It's a district you all will become very familiar with, the 7th congressional district here in Pennsylvania. It is a swingy district. A Republican, Ryan McKenzie, he won it alongside President Donald Trump.
We're all in on Bob Brooks, real union guy. Bob Brooks is a very interesting candidate because he's been able to combine the forces of Josh Shapiro and also Bernard Sanders. Bro, you just emailed me, dog. Scuba. Okay.
During his victory just a few years ago.
My man looks like he's right out of Pawn Stars. He's awesome. Meanwhile, Haaretz literally confirms that the Kentucky primary is for Israel. The most consequential Republican primary for Israel is happening in Kentucky. At some point, we got to be like, this is a little fucked up, no? What will it take? What will it take, folks? When will Americans wake the fuck up to what's going on? I mean, this is totally ridiculous. It is totally ridiculous. It's happening in broad daylight. It's almost as perverse. It's almost as perverse and as ridiculous as Donald Trump taking $1.7 billion of taxpayer revenue from the IRS to spend however he sees fit. Okay? We're there. It's happening in broad fucking daylight. Is highway robbery, and people are just sleepwalking. Donald Trump doing, 58 trades a day since the beginning of 2026. How did that happen? People who got real mad about Nancy and Paul Pelosi, myself included, I was mad about that too, and you should be mad about that. It's perfectly valid to be upset that, congresspersons are trading on non-publicly available information, and yet no such consideration is given to the president when he's doing it in broad daylight. What are we doing? What's going on? Actually, not to get all Tucker Carlson here, but what the fuck's going on? We're not a country. We're not. If you allow foreign lobbies to buy and sell seats like this without any pushback whatsoever, you can't be a country. You're not. We're not a country. The United States of America is no longer a country. It's just a holdover state for corporate interests. Corporate interests that can come in and buy elections, foreign lobbies that can come in and buy elections. It's basically now, an Israeli-owned casino. Shout out Miriam Adelson. It's ridiculous.
And now Democrats are trying to take it back. And that's really the marquee race on the ballot here, is which Democrat is going to step up and try and unseat this Republican incumbent. The Democrats are Bob Brooks, Ryan Crosswell, Lamont McClure, and Carol Obando de Stern. And the key thing here is that one of those candidates, although it's really a toss-up at this point, one of those candidates has gotten the endorsement of Governor Josh Shapiro. You see plenty of ads here in Pennsylvania as well. Bob Brooks is that candidate. He's a firefighter in this area, and you cannot see an ad without him and also Governor Josh Shapiro. That influence by the popular Democratic governor in the state really is on display here. So those are the two storylines that we're going to be watching if that candidate, Shapiro's chosen candidate, really can end up running up the scoreboard here. But meanwhile, Sarah, when it comes to the voters here, they're really still laser focused on just those issues of affordability. I want you to listen to one voter I spoke with who's a small business owner here in Allentown, and she's thinking about how hard it is for her young staff.
I think when you look at how expensive everything is for them just to even get started, I feel a sense of responsibility to provide not just a great place to work, but a great place to make a living. And that is a real challenge right now, to watch young people want to build a future that they're unsure of.
And does it feel like DC is helping that right now?
No, not at all.
You can hear right there, Sarah, that voter Stephanie. She's out here voting because things are really expensive and hard. I passed by a gas station here in Allentown, $4.89 a gallon. Those are the issues that are really bringing voters.
If Massey loses, do you think it has enough of an impact to disillusion some people? No, it means that people are totally in a drunken stupor. If Thomas Massey wins today, that's a huge fucking blow. That means no amount of moneyed interest, no amount of cultish thinking that is in the core of the Republican Party, that's like anchoring the entire base at this point, is enough to unseat someone who's actually, fought for his own moral convictions and said, I'm not gonna compromise on my values. If Israel and Trump in unison wins here, which, by the way, is not unexpected, okay? It shows something about the state of Republicans. And no, not independents, state of Republicans. Because we're talking about the Republican primary. I believe it's a closed primary in Kentucky. It says that the base is completely a cult, 100% a cult. Okay? It's just totally a cult. It's not necessarily a bad thing from our perspective. In some ways, it's terrifying how cultish it is, but it's a cult that is getting smaller and smaller. So from that perspective, I think it's beatable. One example I will use is the Ken Paxton endorsement, right? In Texas, Ken Paxton is a polarizing figure, not just for the Democrats, but amongst Republicans as well. But he's full MAGA. And Donald Trump endorsed Ken Paxton today. Ken Paxton actually performs worse against James Tallarico than Cornyn, right? And now that Donald Trump is boosting Ken Paxton, this actually improves James Tallarico's chances. So you will see potential flips in areas that we never thought were possible to flip because of the way that Trump is moving. Trump is very clearly mustering up all the fucking forces. Okay? He's saying, this is my party. It doesn't matter. I care about ideological loyalty. I care about loyalty to me more than anything else. I don't care about the performance of the party at all. I only care about making sure that my guys are winning. You know how the Democrats have done a similar thing for, maintaining the corporate control over the party? Something that caused them to lose over and over again. Something that might even cause them to lose in the upcoming midterms in areas where they could potentially win, right? That's what Trump is doing, but for himself. This is how you lose. This is how you lose. This is how you lose elections that you could possibly win. When there is unilateral control over the future of the party in the hands of one fucking egomaniacal madman, or a national party that chooses to defend corporate interests, even when the warning signs are right there. For the Democratic Party, they lost the election because they refused to lean into the demands being made by the masses as far as more bold, more radical changes in the economy that would help the working class, or their unbelievable loyalty to the nation state of Israel as it was engaging in heinous war crimes and doing a genocide. That loyalty caused people to stay at home. That loyalty is the reason why people didn't vote for the Democratic Party and Trump won. But don't both parties support corporate interests? Yes, they do. But it doesn't matter. Trump is also a defender of corporate interests. I mean, look at how he runs around and talks about the fucking stock market. That's the only thing that he seemingly cares about. So, yeah, I said Chuan Jingao for the Democrats, Trump the nation builder. Breaking, Trump endorses Ken Paxton in the Texas Senate race. Trump the nation builder.
Out here, but again, keep your eye on the 7th congressional district in Pennsylvania. It could be incredibly important when it comes to control of the House come November. Sarah?
A lot is at stake for a lot of people. Thank you to you, Danny Freeman, and also to our Jeff Selney. Appreciate it. In Georgia, a crowded field of Republicans are running for the chance to unseat Democratic incumbent Senator Jon Ossoff. Georgia voters are also casting ballots in the race to replace Republican Governor Brian Kemp. That field includes some really high-profile names: former Republican Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan, who is now running on the Democratic ticket, and former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. CNN's Ryan Young is live on the ground in Ackworth, Georgia. Ryan, look, there are seats on Georgia Supreme Court that are also on the ballot today. There is a slew of things to bring out voters. What are you seeing?
Oh, there's a slew of options here for people to talk about. And of course, I felt all that energy from Harry a little early this morning. But so far, you can see Georgia voters are really paying attention to this vote. More than 1 million of them have already cast their ballots already in early voting. That close on Friday. Today, it's been steady at polling locations throughout the state. Just talking to some of the folks who've walked past me, some of them have said, look, they are here because they want to make sure that they see some of the policies they want to see in terms of economics move forward. But this has been a nasty race when you talk about the governor's race. In fact, look at some of the ads that have been hitting the airways over the last 60 days or so.
Creepy Rick Jackson and Big Baby Burt Jones are too busy slinging mud at each other to care about you.
In politics, some makeovers are only skin deep. Meet Rick Jackson. Before the primary, he made a few changes. A new look, a new story.
We're incredibly grateful for his leadership and his friendship and his knowledge. Thank you again, Rick, for all that you do for Georgia.
When you see Bert's new attack ads, remember, he doesn't believe them either.
Yes, Sarah. People across the country may not know this. We have a very popular governor here in the state, and he's actually stepping to the side. Now it's Burt Jones versus Rick Jackson. Those two have been locked in a battle that's really locked up the...
Are all American political ads like these? Yes, there has been a significant devolution, significant regression as far as you know, every facet of American existence. And certainly the utilization of AI in campaign ads was an expected move in the wrong direction. Yes, there is a degradation of public discourse, no consensus reality. We're unbelievably fucked.
Airways, when it comes to commercials, people are sort of out there casting the vote to see who the next governor could be on that Republican side. And then, of course, you talked about the Democratic race in terms of the governor. You have Keisha Lance Bottoms, who in all the polls seems to be leading. Of course, there's a lot of conversation about what's going to happen under her because, of course, whoever doesn't get that 50% vote that they need could have a runoff, which happens next month. I will tell you, though, the people here have been energized about this vote. We've seen a lot of folks show up early, and other polling centers, and I've actually talked to a few other reporters, they've seen a steady path of people who are casting their ballots pretty early this morning. It should be interesting to watch throughout the day. Sarah?
Yeah, two things. You hit the nail on the head. Economics is big in people's minds. But when you said that it was dirty, I didn't realize it was actual mudslinging,
Gas
like
prices.
Real mud. I'm like, oh.
Full-fledged mudslinging. And then, of course, on top of that, you have these AI ads that are really got on television. People are watching these. The conversation really has been about who's going to move forward. The president has said that he wants Burt Jones to be the next governor of this state. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out when it gets in this tight political race.
Bill Cassidy in Louisiana lost his primary. He famously voted to convict President Trump in his second impeachment. Thomas Massie now is going up against Gal Ryan here. What do you make of this race, and what does Cassidy's loss, could that mean anything for Massie?
Yeah, look, what is the overarching theme here? And that is Donald Trump may have problems with the center of the electorate in American politics, but among Republicans, he is still king. He is still very, very popular. You mess with Trump, you go in the grinder. I mean, you can see that in his overall approval rating with Republicans, right? It's somewhere 82, 83% on average. That is higher at this point in a second term than either Barack Obama was with Democrats back in 2014, and certainly way higher than George W. Bush was at this point with Republicans back in 2006. I'll know Grindr, by the way, going in the Grindr. That's a quote from Good Burger. I love that movie. But what is, what's so important here is what happened in Louisiana. Will that necessarily hold in Kentucky? Maybe, maybe not. But Bill Cassidy's performance on Saturday night, I went back through all the spreadsheets that I possibly could, looking at every single primary that an incumbent senator had just after World War II, back in 1946. Bill Cassidy's 25% was the weakest performance of any incumbent senator in a primary. Again, I don't think.
Yeah, Trump is God. Okay, for MAGA, which is the entirety of the Republican Party, Donald Trump is God. He is no longer just like a political figure. He is a deity. Okay, you have to look at current modern day Republican voters as a cult. That's it. I genuinely think at this point, if Donald Trump turned around and said that he is a communist, we could have a communist party in this country. That is the level of influence Donald Trump has over his base. Okay, Donald Trump tomorrow could be like, I am a communist. I love communism. It's Trumplander. Yes. The Republican Party is completely at the mercy of Donald Trump. Okay? Bill Cassidy's a fucking demon. Yes, I hate Bill Cassidy. I don't give a shit about Bill Cassidy. But the reality of the matter is, seemingly, Republicans don't give a shit about Bill Cassidy either. Okay? They will drop any and every person that they have consistently voted for. That's why the Kentucky race is important. The Kentucky primary for Thomas Massie is unbelievably important. It's unbelievably important because Thomas Massey is not even like Bill Cassidy, right? Bill Cassidy has had his woke moments, which Republicans love punishing regardless. Thomas Massey is not woke at all. Thomas Massey is 90% of the way with Donald Trump. Thomas Massey is more MAGA than Trump is. Okay? So at this point, is MAGA a definable set of opinions and ideology and policies? Or is MAGA just whatever Donald Trump likes? Okay? And whatever Donald Trump hates is no longer MAGA. That's the question taking shape within the Republican Party primaries in Kentucky. Okay? I personally believe it's a cult. This is an important moment because if Thomas Massey wins, that means that there is actually a fissure within the base of MAGA, where there are at least enough Republicans that are capable of looking at individual policies and saying, look, I love Trump. I love Massey. Massey did great with the Epstein stuff. He did great with Israel. I agree with him. At least for that district in Kentucky, we can figure out whether or not there is anything redeemable about the Republican Party, or not necessarily redeemable, but is there something salvageable? Because if there is a real fissure there, if Thomas Massey wins the primaries, that means there is at least a fissure that can be exploited. Okay? If Thomas Massey loses the primaries, it's fucking over. There's no better indication. I mean, that paired up with Bill Cassidy, paired up with all the other things that have taken place, it's done. Israel and Donald Trump can just, at least on the Republican side, destroy the candidacy, destroy the legacy and the impact of any Republican, no matter how loyal they are. Okay? That's what we're going to find out today. I hope Thomas Massey wins, because that means I hope Thomas Massey wins, because if Thomas Massey wins, that means that there is a deep fissure within the base where for the first time ever, maybe regardless of their cultish attitude, regardless of their dear leader praise, there are certain things that the base of support within MAGA still sees and can make individual changes on. That means that there is there is a little bit of hope to lean into that deep fissure, right? Not that it matters for the record, because even if Thomas Massey loses, MAGA is fully established as a cult. However, even if it's fully established as a cult, it's still defeatable, okay? It's up to the Democrats to actually defeat them. Why are we hoping for hogs to be less hog-like? Fuck them. No. You're misunderstanding. That means you can snap some of these hogs out of their drunken stupor. That's what I mean.
Even if Thomas Massey loses tomorrow, he'll do that poorly. But that shows you, along with Trump's popularity within the Republican ranks, what type of wave.
It's always better if Trump's base is not at 37%, but at like 30%. Do you understand? That's why I'm saying I'm hoping for a Massey win in the Republican primaries here, because that means there is a chance that the bottom is not firmly established at like 35%, but maybe sub 30%. That's huge. The smaller the Trump train is, the smaller the Trump cult is, the easier it is to defeat them, especially considering how unbelievably fucking weak the Democratic Party is. Okay? The Democrats are weak. They're feckless. They're refusing to fight. Or when they do want to fight, they only want to fight against people like ourselves, people on their left flank. They're not ready to fucking fight against fascism. They don't even want to admit that fascism is here in this country. Okay? It's that simple. Can I be controversial? Is there anything you think Trump has done right that warrants credit? Yes, of course. I've been very clear on this. What do you mean? Like what he did in China in the Beijing summit, I glazed the shit out of it. I think it's the appropriate it is weirdly sober analysis, unexpected from Donald Trump. I thought he was going to continue warmongering, continue his China hawkery, but Donald Trump sometimes will cut away from the established uniparty blob mentality when it comes to certain aspects of foreign policy, right? Now, this can be dangerous and damaging. He'll lean into some of the worst in some of the worst aspects and some of the worst ambitions of foundations for defending democracy, like pro-Israeli think tanks when it comes to dealing with Iran. Massive defeat, right? And has been horrible. It's a spectacular quagmire that Donald Trump forced the United States into, and it was totally avoidable, right? Iran was absolutely ready to negotiate. They made that very clear. They actually leaned into American demands, like maximalist demands. Donald Trump could have gotten a better deal than the JCPOA from the American perspective, from the American side, and he didn't do that, right? He didn't do that because he was, he was being used like a flesh puppet by Israel. Terrible. In China, on the other hand, there are plenty of think tanks that want to wage war against China, continue sending even more and more weapons to Taiwan, really expand on that, really exhaust those tensions, right? Like really foment tension between Chinese Taipei and Taiwan and mainland China, right? Donald Trump's not doing that, though, because in a weird way, he does actually respect power and recognizes that when he tries to wage war, like the tariff war that he tried to wage against China, and he fails, he's like, oh, shit, China had hands. I need to be a little bit more restrained. So that's good. That's something that I've totally given Trump credit for.
That Thomas Massie has to fight against to win tomorrow.
Bill Cassidy's performance was the worst since World War II.
For any incumbent senator of either party.
I think Massie sort of represents what I would call whatever the oppositional energy is left in the Republican Party, meaning people, he feels like he can say no to things. And Trump has been found to be able to primary the people he does not like when you look at what happened with the Republicans in Indiana. Do you think that people who stand up to Trump the way he does so specifically can survive primaries?
Well, we'll find out today. And I think that what most Republicans I talk to are frustrated by is when we had the big, beautiful bill, for example, when we cut taxes on overtime, tips, Social Security, the common sense measures we put into place to secure the border, Thomas Massie voted no. It was the fundamental reason what gave us the opportunity to win in 2024, and he has chosen to go to his own path, and today is decision day.
Has he burned every bridge the way somebody implied
I think
here?
a lot of members see that he is looking out for Thomas Massie, as opposed to what the agenda is for the Republican Party. And today's decision day, we'll have to see what happens. We saw what happened last weekend in Louisiana. We'll have to see what happens tonight in Kentucky.
The biggest weakness that Massie has, along with everyone else that identifies this way in Congress, is that they're libertarians. Libertarians are inherently independent-minded. They support rugged individualism over the rest of the team, and it's not very practical. I think that I really do like, though, the lady that was...
Trump came back on Twitter just to shit on Thomas Massie. That's crazy, bro. Horrible Congressman Thomas Massie put out an old endorsement from many years ago of him by me long before I found out that he was the worst congressman in the history of our country. I endorsed Ed Galbraith, a true American patriot, with which Massie knows full well. So the statement that he put out is fraudulent, just like he is fraudulent. Withdraw your fake statement, Massie, right now, President Donald J. Trump. He's so mad. He's such a fucking cuck to Israel. Oh my God. Where's that one chatter who asked me if there's anything redeemable about Trump that I gave him actually a decent answer on? I wonder how he feels about Donald Trump being an insane cuck to Miriam Adelson and Israel. Sign me in, sign me in. What is Google sign in? What?
working in the kitchen who's saying, you know, I'm going to vote however I want. That's so American.
Because there are certain states, New Hampshire, et cetera, are places where people are like, we don't want to be bossed around. We thought that about Indiana, and then 5 of the 7 Indiana Republicans that said no to redistricting are out of a job.
Well, and that's why Trump has already won. Even if Thomas Massie actually wins and pulls this out tonight, the message has been sent. You cross the president, there is going to be a huge political cost. And even if you do survive the primary, I mean, Thomas Massie is now fighting for his political life just as a result of that. And the message has been sent, and you're going to see Republicans stay in line, at least through the midterms.
It's a very expensive message. This is the most expensive primary in history so far, $35 million as of Monday. There are a lot of donors also from AIPAC, or the Republican Jewish Coalition, because of Massie's comments on the war in Iran. And I did wonder, with Hegseth there, with the military base there, is this also a little bit of a proxy for that conversation?
It absolutely is. And 35 million is not even getting past the surface. If you look at what happened in Louisiana with $50 million, if you look in Texas with $150 million, this is what's great for a Democratic strategist, is none of that money was spent beating up Democrats. That was money beating up Republicans, each other, saying why they suck. They what about us? And so we like to sit back and watch that just happen.
Glad
but
you're
I'll also
weighing
say
in with
this.
that.
Wait, let me finish.
Yeah.
I'll also say that Donald Trump is still very popular in one little piece of the American electorate, and that is these Republican primaries. To your point, Alex, is like, love him or hate him, I've always given Donald Trump credit for being a good tactician when it comes to politics, but he is very popular in a Democratic primary. And again, boys and girls at home, in a Democratic primary, just a little bit of voters make a decision for the entire congressional district, because most of these guys, Democrat or Republican, are in very safe seats to where those primary voters determine who will be your congressman.
In the meantime, do you think that Pete Hegseth should be campaigning for anyone right now?
Well, it's common things where cabinet members campaign. There's no doubt about it.
Not defense secretaries during a war.
Well,
unless I miss Rumsfeld hanging out in the midterms.
No, I mean, this is a reality of politics today. He's out there aggressively pushing for the president's person.
Reality meaning no one is immune from the requirements of having to go onto the ground, no matter what your gig is.
Well, I think this is politics. Welcome to it. And this is, and talking about money, this is almost as much money as the Democrats burned in Virginia doing a bad idea on reapportionment. But that said, I think that Thomas Massie will have his day in court today, and we'll see the verdict. And I'm interested to see it just like everyone else.
I do think it's interesting, though, when you see the defense secretary there in a time of war, and when you look specifically.
Dude, yeah. You can't write a funnier situation, okay? Donald Trump, at the behest of Israel, is waging war with Iran, and the fucking defense secretary, in the midst of that battle that he's in, is going out there to unseat a fucking Republican congressperson who's against this war, which, by the way, so are many of the fucking voters. Like, it's hilarious. It's awesome. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I can't believe I'm agreeing with this animal, but I saw, it wasn't Laura Ingraham, it was fucking Ann Coulter make a statement about this where I was like, she's right. Ann Coulter was literally chirping about this, where she was like, what are we fucking doing here? Like, what's going on? What's happening? Where is it? Let me see if I can find the actual statement. Yeah, only 43% of Republican supporters think the Iran war will be worth the cost. Only 55% want the next GOP president to follow Trump's lead, but 80% approve of Trump's job performance on immigration. That's his highest number. She's saying, get back to the basics, be racist. Where is it? Where the fuck's the statement? Yeah, the war with Iran is existential. I can't believe I liked an Ann Coulter tweet so I could bring it up on stream. The war with Iran is existential. Iran could bomb a U.S. city. Americans must impoverish themselves to stop Iran from getting a nuke. A civilization will die tonight. Man in charge of the war, excuse me, I need to fly to a small Kentucky county to campaign against a Republican House member. Yeah, this is real America First in action right here, okay? Straight up. That's America First? That's your fucking movement, dude? I can't see a more Israel First moment for America First than this right here. Yeah, I feel dirty liking it. I'm unliking it now that I'm done looking at this fucking tweet. God, the audio is so busted. I wish so bad that Bibi himself would have come and done a speaking engagement. Yeah, I mean, obviously they won't go to that level because let's be real, if they were to bring Benjamin Netanyahu there, then people would maybe wake up. But I don't even know anymore. I can see Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu fucking traveling around Kentucky stumping for Ed Galrain. And Kentuckians still being like, hell yeah, brother, that's right. United States of Israel. Am Israel high, sir. I love Israel. I want to make sure we spend all of our fucking tax dollars on Israel, baby. No, do not fix the potholes in Kentucky. Don't fix the infrastructure in Kentucky. Okay? I don't need a hospital in a 50-mile radius. Excuse me, sir. Does it seem like I need a hospital in a 50-mile radius, sir? I'm not an anti-Semite. This is what I care about. Donald Trump told me it's anti-Semitic. No, thank you, I say. Am Israel high?
Specifically at this race, how it could also be a litmus test for just how high frustration is when it comes to the war in Iran and the ramification of higher gas prices. We talk about foreign policy a lot, and the American people can be frustrated with different foreign policy decisions, but it doesn't always actually equate to being a primary factor when it comes to electoral races. Now, this could be different. My colleague was in Kentucky recently, Jenny Medina, and she did reporting there and found that a lot of people had that gas price on their mind, had the initial America First promise on their mind, not to get involved in some of these prolonged conflicts. I know the administration likes to say that this is
It's primary day in multiple states, and one race in particular.
Michael Hastings fan. Hasanabi, shush. Don't tell chat. I just voted my closed GOP primary. Illegally. That's right. What do you mean? This is Hank Pecker coming to you right now live from Kentucky, okay? We are a bunch of goddamn patriots. And guess what? We are saying America first. And that's why we're all voting for Thomas Massie illegally and legally. Voting hard. Get the hat or shut your filthy mouth. Oh, goddamn. Don't make me put the hat on. I feel it in my plums every time I vote in my closed GOP primary when I wear my apolitical hat. Feel it down in my bones, the patriotism. After all, I got to vote illegally because there's the illegals are voting. Guatemalans, 10 million Guatemalans voting for Israel. Right. Let's get back to the story about Representative Massie facing a Trump-backed primary challenge.
Is drawing a whole lot of attention. Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky is a frequent critic of President Trump, and now he is literally fighting for his political life because of big money donations from the president's wealthiest allies. Ed O'Keefe is following all of this in Kentucky. Ed, good morning to you. The poll numbers do not look good for Mr. Massie this morning.
Gail, good to see you. You know, after recent wins over fellow Republicans he considers his enemies in Indiana and Louisiana, Kentucky now is the latest stop on the president's political retribution tour. And as you mentioned, because of big spending by big outside groups, this is now the most expensive House primary in American history.
Massie's the worst congressman in the history of our country.
President Trump on Monday from the Oval Office, once again denouncing Republican Congressman Thomas Massie.
Always voting against Republicans and good values. So get rid of Thomas Massie.
The president and Massie have sparred for years on policy, but most recently on two things especially sensitive to Trump: the Jeffrey Epstein investigation and the war with Iran.
He's tweeted probably, 8 or 10 times in the last 72 hours. He's literally losing sleep over this race because he's in with both feet.
In a sign of how much the White House wants Massie gone, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth traveled to northern Kentucky Monday to support the congressman's challenger, former Navy SEAL Ed Gallrein.
Think about where we are in history right now. And you're having the Secretary of War coming here to little old Kentucky to see you today. Is that something?
Hegseth made a stop earlier in the day at a military base in Kentucky, but said he was appearing with Gallrein on his personal time.
There's nothing funnier than, first of all, I mean, this has to be illegal, right? Like, what the fuck are we doing? That's number one. Number two, nothing funnier than having a bunch of dumb fucks in a Kentucky military base be like, yeah, I'm going to go vote for the guy who's going to send me to war for Israel. If you do that, but yes, the Hatch Act is nothing, okay? It doesn't exist anymore. Forget about it. But also, yeah, using tax dollars to literally using tax dollars to fly to Kentucky to tell a bunch of chuds in the goddamn military that they should vote for the guy that Israel hand-selected that will absolutely vote to send you to war and die for Israel. Fantastic. Fan-fucking-tastic, dude. Yep, that's the real Americans right there, baby. Real Americans. Fucking hogs, man.
Thomas Massie has acted like his job is to stand apart from the movement that President Trump leads instead of strengthening it.
You don't send the Secretary of War to Kentucky during a war if you think your candidate is up 10 points. That's what you do when you realize your whole campaign is imploding.
This contest across a district that stretches from the suburbs of Louisville to northeastern parts of the state is now the most expensive House primary race in U.S. history, with more than $32 million spent, mostly by pro-Israel organizations and groups aligned with the president attacking Massie.
They tried to buy my vote for 14 years and it was never for sale. Now they're trying to buy a seat here in Kentucky.
Kentucky Republicans today are also choosing their candidate to run to succeed the retiring Senator Mitch McConnell. There are also primaries today in Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, and Pennsylvania. Nate, if it's Tuesday, they're voting somewhere.
All right. Thomas Massie doesn't have a hope and a prayer to survive this primary. He does. It's because he has he does. I mean, it's a cult, but he actually does. That's all I'll say.
I did. Thank you.
It's true. Thomas Massie, a terrible congressman. Trump savages Kentucky Republican on primary day. For Donald Trump, this is part, trying to punish anyone that steps out of line, but it's also partially because he is a dog for Israel, okay? Donald Trump is a dog for Israel. He is a servile little puppy, okay? He will do anything and everything for his fucking masters, all right? This race is as expensive as it is, not just because Donald Trump is offended personally. I'm sure that plays a role as well, okay? But it's because when Israel says bark, Donald Trump yips, okay? He goes, yes, sir. Straight up.
The primary with Thomas Massie and your endorsed candidate.
Yeah.
Do you think your candidate can beat him? And what are you seeing?
Yeah, Thomas Massie's a terrible congressman. He's been a terrible congressman from day one. Dealing with him is just horrible. I don't think he's a Republican. I think he's actually a Democrat. He's not a libertarian. Sometimes they say he's really a Democrat.
A Democrat.
He votes against us all the time. He voted against the border wall. He voted against men playing in women's sports. He voted against transgender for everybody, the mutilization of your children. He voted against, again, open borders. We have the best border we've ever had right now. Nobody's coming in. I mean, a report just came out. In the last 11 months, literally nobody has been allowed into our country illegally. We're taking people legally. They go through a process. But nobody's come into our country. But we've taken out hundreds of thousands of people. We had 11,888 murders. Many of these murders allowed into our country from prisons. They were in prisons.
Thomas Massie wants to do transgender for everybody. Thomas Massie wants to do Medicare for all. He's woke. He's a woke transgender himself. Listen, I need you to understand something, okay? You might think, wow, how dumb. Is this the kind of argument that works? And the answer to that scary question is yes. This is what works. Yeah. Thomas Massie wants illegals pouring over the borders, and he wants transgender for everybody. And that's exactly the type of shit that people actually eat. Okay, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Maybe he is. I think Trump is also trying to demonstrate that his coalition is behind him despite the Iran war and Epstein. They want to avoid any cracks in his iron grip over GOP voters because one crack could encourage more on top of the punishment and servility to Israel. Yes, that's why I'm saying this is a very impactful and very important race. You're absolutely correct. Thomas Massey wants everything computer and transgender everybody. Hasanabi, our numbers guys, or for trans or against trans for all? Yes, I'm a numbers guy who is also for transgender everybody.
Many of these
Imagine the crash out if Massey pulls it off. Oh, God. He might just fucking have an aneurysm that turns him woke overnight.
people killed more than 50% killed more than one person. This was gross malfeasance. This was on behalf of the Biden administration. I don't know Biden because I don't think he knew he was alive. But Kamala was the border czar. She never called, not one time, she never called the Border Patrol. She never called ICE. She never called law enforcement. She never went to the border. Think of it. I used to call every single day. And that's recently. Now I call less. We have nobody coming through. We had caravans coming through with tens of thousands of people pouring into our country. We had no idea who they were. We would have been, I'll tell you what, our country would have been destroyed. If they won this election, our country would have been, we have now the hottest country anywhere in the world. If they had won the election, our country would have been destroyed. Our country was a dead country 2 years ago, and now we have really the hottest country in the world. And this is the ballroom, and it's going to be something incredible. You see the quality of it, and they go right, those columns go right into the roof. And on top of the roof, we're going to have the greatest drone empire that you've ever seen, and it's going to protect Washington. Thank you all very much.
Well, today is primary election day in Pennsylvania. Voters across the Commonwealth will decide who will be on the ballot for the general election in November. Polls open in less than 90 minutes, as you can see there, at 7 o'clock. Pennsylvania's 3rd congressional district race is the one to watch locally.
Let's go.
In addition to being highly competitive, political analysts say it could also offer
Chris
a glimpse
Rabb, baby.
into where
Chris
the
Rabb.
Democratic
Rabb
Party
Mentum.
is headed.
Rabb Mentum.
CBS News Philadelphia reporter Waukesha Bailey continues our voting coverage from
Today we're going to find out. So now that we talked about the cult in the Republican Party, there's also absolutely a machine politics that 100% has funneled votes into the most wishy-washy corporate Democrats with entrenched power at the Democratic Party's base as well. Okay, this is a very important race. Chris Rabb is awesome. You guys know this. I've endorsed him. I stomped for him. And DSA Philadelphia, DSA in Pennsylvania is working tirelessly and has actually broken records in the state, knocking on doors. Okay? Chris Rabb is going against Sharif Street and Ayla Stanford in a district that is the bluest district in the country. Okay? This is a district that is a very black district, Pennsylvania 3. Okay? 51%. We're about to find out. I mean, and all three, obviously, of all three of the candidates are black as well, before people get confused. The rapture is upon us. Sharif Street has gotten all of the institutional Dem endorsements, labor unions. He's backed by Josh Shapiro. Chris Rabb, on the other hand, has gotten a lot of has picked up basically all the left flank, insurgent candidate endorsements. Obviously, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez stumped for Rabb this past weekend. It's going to be a real test here. The primary is what matters in Philadelphia. The advantages that we have for Rabb obviously stem from the advantages that Rabb has stem from the fact that this is a primary, and therefore not a lot of people pay close attention to the primary. So you can actually be quite impactful if you are capable of activating low propensity voters, younger voters in general, which Rabb obviously has made a tremendous impact on. Many of you have canvassed for him, door knock for him in this community as well. Obviously, I'm still a little bit worried, as I talked about last night. And part of that is because the Democratic Party machine can just dial up the turnout on a lot of the older voters that love voting, that love going out and voting for whoever the mainstream candidate is, whoever the most conservative candidate is, whoever the Democratic establishment wants to win. And Sharif Street is that person. Sharif Street is pro-Israel. Sharif Street is pro-establishment Democrats, pro-corporate donations. Chris Rabb is everything Sharif Street is not. It's a different kind of politics. The kind of politics that I think would move this country in a better direction. Why him and not the AIPAC lady? I don't necessarily know why AIPAC's candidate in this race, because I guess Street is a little bit more critical of Israel than Stanford was. There's a heat wave taking over Pennsylvania. Hopefully that causes some of the older voters to stay home and not vote. So we shall see. It's very hot in Pennsylvania. Having said that, it's not, polls have shown Chris Rabb actually narrowly winning this three-way race. However, the Democratic Party in the state has actually pulled a bunch of nasty little tricks. Robocalls, spamming text messages without actually showing where those text messages were coming from. Text messages that even included my name in them, apparently. Connecting Chris Rabb to anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, connecting him to myself. And the turnout machine, let's see if the turnout machine works here, okay? Because the Unk Guard and the Aunt Guard, specifically black aunties and uncles, are the backbone of the Democratic Party. They turn out in the general, and they certainly turn out in the primaries as well. If the Unk Guard, that is the vanguard of the Democratic Party's base of support for entrenched power, remains strong, if we are incapable of out-organizing and out-door-knocking the Unk Guard, then Street will win the race. Unk-Tifa, if you will. Hopefully, that doesn't happen.
Enon Tabernacle in Mount Airy this morning. Good morning, Waukesha.
Yeah, good morning, Siafa. Well, this major race that we've been talking about, it is to replace Congressman Dwight Evans. Now, I spoke with political analysts, and they tell us that this is really more than just about politics. I sat down with Westchester University's John Kennedy and political analyst Jasmine Sessoms ahead of primaries. Congress Dwight Evans announced he will step away after serving in Congress since 2016. Following decades of service in Harrisburg, vying for his seat is state senator.
Would you have endorsed Ramsey Robinson if he ran as a Democrat? I would have endorsed Ramsey Robinson if he was polling at 10% plus. Easiest endorsement of my life. Not even a fucking question. It doesn't matter if he's running as the Freedom Party, the PSL cutout, or any number of different things. I don't care what he's running as. He can run as a fucking independent for all I care. What I care about is if he had viability or not. Okay? In a jungle primary system where the top two go to the general, I obviously can't, I obviously can't endorse someone who has no shot at reaching viability. He is obviously ideologically aligned with myself. Same with Butch Ware as well. Butch Ware has some, interesting decisions that he's made in his career, but why'd you endorse Zoran when he was at 1% then? Because it's an entirely different primary system in an entirely different city. It's not a statewide election where there's a top two jungle primary system, okay? And Zoran had the ground game in a ranked choice Democratic Party primary, who ran as a fucking Democrat too. He was a Democrat, a DSA cadre Democrat in a crowded field where that push obviously mattered a lot more. I don't know why people genuinely are confused about how these different electoral systems work. I get it. Actually, I do know why. It's because it's confusing. Every state and even cities sometimes have different electoral systems. Every state has a different election process. Okay? A jungle primary is just fully open. Okay? Republicans, independents, socialists, they all run together, and the top two reach the general. Okay? In a situation like that, you can have top two candidates that are both Republicans in a state that's overwhelmingly Democrat, right? You could still have Butch on the show. I mean, Ramsey Robin, Butch didn't even get on the ballot. There's like Barack D. Obama Shaw on the ballot, and Butch is not on the ballot. What are you talking about? He's not on the ballot.
Sharif Street, State Representative Chris Rabb, Dr. Ala Stanford, and tax attorney Sean Griffith. The candidates have different priorities, ranging from affordability and education to health care, government reform, and utility cost. But analysts say voters are focused on everyday concerns.
They care about the pocketbook issues. How much is the price of eggs going to climb, right? So it really is about affordability and safety.
Strategists also say voters want someone who can navigate Washington while understanding the district's diverse communities. Pennsylvania's 3rd Congressional District is the only African-American majority district in the state, and also elected Robert N.C. Nix, the first African-American Pennsylvania congressman.
It may give us a temperature or a clue to where the Democratic Party is headed. If you look at the Cook Political Index, it's plus 40 Democratic district. That means the average vote in this district is 40 points higher than the national vote in a particular election.
So just a couple of things to
I think people legitimately think, maybe due to all of the narratives that we've seen in mainstream media, that like I have the capacity to singularly pick and choose candidates. I can give a modest bump if there is a shit ton of media coverage on top of it, like with Abdul al-Sayed, right? We saw that. There was a little bit of a Hasanabi bump for Abdul al-Sayed, but they also have to have the fundamentals, right? Zoran and I were aligned almost entirely in our worldview. It was a perfect harmonious relationship, right? But he was also unbelievably charismatic. He had the tremendous ground game. Okay. If someone is polling in a non-ranked choice system at 1%, it's virtually impossible for someone like myself to make them a viable candidate. Okay. Like at a certain point, the individual candidate and their campaign matters quite a bit, right? But I think a lot of you look at the situation and think that like I can just like single-handedly pick and create like a viable candidate when there is no viability there. Not yet, but you will soon. I mean, I don't think so, but hopefully, maybe one day, inshallah. Media is smarter now. They didn't cover your Rab collab as much. It's multiple factors of play. Yeah. Yeah, I had Ray Huang early on before Nithya Raman ever even came out to run, right? I gave the early bump. A bunch of people from my community have been, door knocking and canvassing for her. It didn't make the distance, right? It didn't cover the rest. It doesn't always work that way. I've never claimed that I'm a fucking kingmaker. I don't have that capacity. We as a community don't have that capacity. I saw that all the DSA LA City Council electeds endorsed Karen Bass. What's going on with DSA LA? I don't have additional insight into this, but what I can say is, and I guess we'll get into that in a little bit, because we'll talk about that too. But in the mayoral system in Los Angeles, the mayor actually has very limited power. It's still obviously a powerful position, but it doesn't have the same level of power that like the New York City mayor has, right? What matters a lot more is the council members. So You have a strong council and a weak mayor in Los Angeles, and DSA LA's focus in this race has very clearly been to get all of the council members elected, right? Which is a good strategy for the record. It is a great strategy. So that's precisely what they've been focusing on. DSA LA has been working tirelessly to ensure that they put up a more DSA LA-backed council members. Working tirelessly? No, but they have been. They have actually been working. People now just think you're a socialist kingmaker as if a single appearance on your stream and a few comments about them is what makes people vote for someone. If that worked, Kamala would have won after all of her celebrity endorsements. I know.
Polls open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Voters must be in line by 8 p.m. and they'll still be allowed to vote. Now, mail and civilian absentee ballots must be returned by 8 p.m. today, and military and overseas ballots must be received by next Tuesday, May 26. Now, we've been outside of Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church, where this is one of many polling sites throughout the city, and these candidates actually held a forum here earlier during the race.
Well, when the polls do close tonight, we'll have the latest results as they come into our newsroom online at cbsphiladelphia.com. We'll also have live election coverage on our streaming channel starting at 9:30, and we will recap all of the big races here on CBS News Philadelphia tonight at 11 o'clock as well as tomorrow morning.
NBC's Morgan Chesky reporting there. Philadelphia's 3rd district race is one of the big ones that we are keeping a close eye on today. It's the Pennsylvania primary, and voters have until 8 o'clock to cast their ballots. NBC 10's Lily Zhang joins us.
If you're
once
waiting
again
in line,
live
keep
in Center
staying
City.
in line, keep voting.
Hey there, Aaron. Yeah, plenty of time to cast your ballots. Right now, we're outside the Kimmel Center, which is one of the many polling sites that we have here in Philadelphia. Hardly any lines that we've seen so far, so tons of opportunities to vote right here. Now, one of the highly contested races that we've been keeping a close eye on is that race for Pennsylvania's 3rd congressional district. There are 4 candidates: State Representative Chris Rabb, State Senator Sharif Street, Dr. Ayla Stanford, and Sean Griffith. Now, they all want your vote to replace Congressman Dwight Evans. He is retiring after his term ends. This morning, at least 2 of the candidates, they cast their ballots in the Mount Airy and Chestnut Hill areas. Rapp tells us he will accept the results no matter what happens. While we're at the polling sites, voters tell us that it doesn't matter who you support as long as you exercise your right to vote.
As a United States Marine serving this country, I did the hard part. I went out there and served. All to the people out there, all you have to do is do the easy part. Come out and vote.
Now, back out here live, as long as you are in line to vote by 8 o'clock, you can cast your ballot. So again, 8 o'clock is when you have to be in line in order to vote. For now, reporting live in Center City, Lily Zhang, NBC 10 News.
We have a complete guide on all the candidates and the rest of the primary right now on NBC10.com. Then make sure you tune in to NBC 10 News tonight at 11 for election results and on our streaming channel all night long.
The big race we're watching locally is the Democratic primary for Pennsylvania's 3rd congressional district in Philadelphia. Dr. Ayla Stanford, state senator.
This is between Chris Rabb and Sharif Street, okay? That's the race. The race is between Chris Rabb, the insurgent candidate, and Sharif Street, the establishment candidate. Sharif Street has picked up a bunch of local and also national endorsements from the establishment Democrats. He is absolutely a product of entrenched power. Sharif Street has in the past tried to redistrict within Pennsylvania that would favor conservatives just so he could have a comfortable ass seat for himself. It's a classic case of entrenched power within the Democratic Party going up against an actual people-backed candidacy. Okay, it's a classic case. What's interesting about it is that not a secret that the DSA and the left flank, whether it be Bernie Sanders or numerous others, have actually never been able to make inroads with black voters, okay, with the exception of young black voters. This is a district that is both young and very black. 51%, the demographics are 51% black, okay? It's like fucking 5 times higher than any other any other district in the country, right? The average. This was an issue for Zoran in New York City as well. New York City obviously also is very black as well. This was an issue in the primaries for Zoran, and Zoran dialed in the general and actually went out and focused on working within the black community. Now, of course, this is a little different because all three of the top candidates are black. Sharif Street, Alice Stanford, and Chris Rabb are all black. So there is that difference. However, Sharif Street has the, institutional Dem backing, and therefore Sharif Street has had the Democratic Party turnout machine that is very effective. If you're white, stop chatting. You got to be white. If you're white, stop chatting. Black only chat. It's true. Sean Griffin is a non-entity. It doesn't matter in this race at all. So this is a very important test. I have said over and over again that there is no socialist movement in this country without black socialism. Okay? This is just true. It's objectively true. If we cannot make inroads through community organizing, through outreach, by being in these spaces, by activating the nascent black revolutionary movement in this country once again and have its resurgence, socialists will never fucking win in this country, because you will never get out of the primary system. Okay? You'll never be able to have a third party movement regardless, and you will never be able to get out of the primary system either. Okay? Whether we're talking about the actual presidential run, where notoriously the older black voter population will go and vote for the establishment Democrat, you'll just never be able to make gains. You'll never be able to have inroads. It's not a secret, and people have gotten very mad at me for talking about this, but it's not a secret that the Congressional Black Caucus and the leadership, the black leadership within the Democratic Party, is fairly conservative. Okay? The machine is conservative. The voters are not necessarily conservative themselves, but they vote conservative. Okay? After all, the Congressional Black Caucus endorsed Hillary Rodham Clinton over Barack Hussein Obama in the 2008 primaries. Okay? It's important to address that. It's important to identify that, because it's just true. It's entrenched power. It's boomers that are refusing to let go of their grip of power within the party in many respects. Okay? But we can actually make changes. Okay? There are a lot of young black socialists that are running in different parts of the country. Okay? And there are certainly a lot of younger voters that no longer have the same appetite to go out and vote in the same numbers for the Democratic Party. They're not voting for the Republican Party either. They're just turning in the non-voters, right? So as that turnout machine loses some of its grip of power, it is important for us to activate the younger voters and get them on board. And the only way to do that is through community outreach, and to also speak on issues that pertain to the day-to-day existence of young black voters, and to be in areas where they're at. Okay? There's an unbelievable level of disenfranchisement in this country, especially in the South, and we're seeing that right now, where the Republicans are actively erasing the voting power of black voters. Okay? Some people shy away from this because they always talk about this issue from the perspective of class. But in the United States of America, this is an issue that needs special attention. Okay?
Sharif Street, State Representative Chris Rabb, and tax attorney Sean Griffith are all running to replace Congressman Dwight Evans, who is retiring. Now, because there are no Republican challengers, today's winner is very likely to join the new Congress in Washington, D.C. in January. Now, Pennsylvania's 3rd congressional district is the only majority African-American district in the Commonwealth, spanning from South Philly to Chestnut Hill. That means African-American voters will...
51% of this district is black. 51%. Okay? If Rabb, I'm telling you right now, if Chris Rabb, a Democratic socialist, can win in this district, we can make significant changes in this country's politics. Okay?
Will play a significant role in determining who wins today's primary. CBS News Philadelphia reporter Waukesha Bailey joins us from Enon Tabernacle in Mount Airy. She's been there all morning, and finally there are some people starting to join you who are looking to cast their ballots. Good morning, Waukesha.
Yeah, good morning, Siafa. So we're still just a half hour away from when polls open. And yeah, we've already seen people in line. This one woman has been here since 6 o'clock this morning, ready to cast her vote. But we also have a group that's going to be heading out. It's Black Voters Matter. They're going to be heading out door to door canvassing. And today isn't their first day getting started. Kalel Edwards is joining us this morning. And I met you, a few months ago here at Enon when you guys were already getting the word out. So tell us, who is Black Voters Matter and what is your organization about?
Okay, Black Voters Matter is an organization, national organization based out of Atlanta, Georgia. Right now we're in 28 different states.
Wait, is this Stacey Abrams' operation? Am I crazy? All you meme lords and ultras and terminally online edgelords in Philly better put on your cleanest t-shirts, drag your asses out to your out of your doomer caves and vote for this man Tuesday. You can go back to watching old Eastern European documentaries and Hezbollah videos later. He's right. He's right. He's so right. Because Chris Rabb isn't even like... Here's what's interesting about Chris Rabb. So the DSA has obviously a caucus system within the organization, and you have some, you have the DSA right and you have the DSA left. The DSA right is what we usually call liberals, right? Social Democrats, people who are hyper invested in electoralism, and then the DSA left is people who are, maybe even beyond that. Chris Rabb, usually DSA cadre candidates or DSA, literally every caucus supports DSA. Yeah, of course. I'm just saying. I'm saying. You mean Rabb? Yes, every caucus, of course, it is in support of Rabb. I would go so far as to say Chris Rabb is a little bit to the left, more so than the regular DSA candidates that run or the DSA endorsed candidates that are out there. He's a radical in many respects, in a very good way. Okay? Please don't call DSA right liberals, Lamont. Okay, well, I say that in jest. Okay? I don't mean that as a bad thing. Half of you are DSA right in here. Okay? Calm down. Okay, Cinemarxism, they are liberals. Here we go. You rarely ever get a candidate that Cinemarxism likes, okay? Listen, they need to quit acting like it then. Yeah. The concept of a DSA right is so fucking funny. Wait, what? No, it's totally normal in a political organization like the Democratic Socialists of America. Yeah, DSA is the political organization that has people that will call those to their right social fascists. So far left that you have people who will say these guys are social fascists, and so far right within its ranks that, they're social democrats. Cinemarxism and I both being in the DSA is real big tent discourse. Yes.
It was created, this is our 10th year anniversary, so this was created to amplify the voices of Black voters, to amplify the issues that was impacting Black voters, and to create some unity and joy of Black folks getting to the polls.
Yeah. Now, we're talking about a major race today, the Pennsylvania Congressional District 3. That seat is going to be up for grabs. How important is this race, and what is your message to people today?
It is very important. We have a new representative in the 3rd Congressional District as of the end of the day, and it's been a long time since we picked a new leader.
Maybe it's not Stacey Abrams.
The 3rd Congressional District is 50% Black, so that choice is ours, and we understand that as Black voters, but we need to get to the election polls and pick the right person there to represent us. So we want to have long-term and short-term solutions to the issues that's impacting us every day.
Yeah, now you're not up here this early for no reason, so what does your day look like?
this is a very serious day for me. So when you think about basketball players that practice all year round to make it to the championship game, this is the day that we've been waiting for. We understand election day is one day, but we also know our problems ain't starting on election day. It don't end on election day. But we do believe that a community that votes determines its own destiny. So we're out here just letting our young folks know, our older folks know that we need to get to the polls to amplify our voices as black voters because they're expecting us not to show up today.
Yeah. And Kalal, what are some of those issues that you're hearing since you're out here in the community speaking with people day to day?
I would say affordable housing, funded for public education, sustainable wages, reproductive rights for women.
Yeah.
Some youth, young kids between 18 to 24, just want new rims on their basketball courts and their rec centers, new Wi-Fi in their rec centers. So we try to put the issue and letting folks know that their issue is going to be on the ballot. So just trying to put them two together.
Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate the work that you're doing. And for those people who are just still undecided, especially about this major race, what would be your message to them?
This one I got to get serious. I got to say get involved, get to the polls. They will make a decision without you. So it's our choice, it's our chance to be a part of the process of electing someone who's going to represent us. I tell folks all the time, once you don't vote, you lose your right to complain. So let's get out to those polls. Moms, bring your kids. Kids, bring your mothers. And let's get out to the polls. I remember my first time voting was my mom waking me up at 18 years old saying, let's go to the polls. And expect a lot of that happen today.
Yeah, and you've been voting ever since. Thank you so much for being with us. And thank you all as well for the work that you do and for being with us. So just a couple of things that people need to know if they are heading out to the polls today. So polls open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Voters in line by 8 p.m. They still will be allowed to vote. Mail, civilian, absentee ballots must be returned by 8 p.m. today. Military and overseas ballots must be received by next Tuesday, May 26th. And back out here live at ENA, as we mentioned, we still have a couple of people that have already been in line since 6 o'clock this morning. And in the next hour, we're actually going to talk to them to find out why they got here so early and what their message is to other voters. All right, Siafa, sending it back to you.
Yeah, we look forward to that. Great interview there as well, Lakeisha. Thank you very much.
So from a 30-second commercial to breaking news.
All right. This is we're now moving on to the Trump endorsement to the Texas race that's taking shape right now. Donald Trump, in his endless appetite for unlimited fealty from all of his candidates, has done the goddamn thing and endorsed the much weaker candidate in this race, leaning heavily into Ken Paxton. Now, this is Texas, so obviously, who knows? Who knows what might happen? Beloved, I'm black, and these aren't Rab heads; they're CBC heads. I mean, I don't know what this. Oh, there was also another thing that I wanted to actually read from Geese magazine that I think is a very interesting piece that was written about what Zoran must do, and I think it's going to be a discourse bomb in general, but hold on, let me see if I can find it. So yeah, Geese magazine wrote an article, or not Geese magazine necessarily, but Tara from DSA wrote an article about Zoran Mamdani. This is a warning to Zoran Mamdani. There is no socialism without black socialists. I think this is one of the more important conversations that need to be taking place right now, as far as like outreach efforts and as far as organizing efforts goes within socialist movements, within the socialist movement broadly. It's not just an electoralist argument, but it's also like I think something that we need to fundamentally focus on to activate a lot of not only black voters in general, but to just like try to bring as many young black Americans into this organization, into this movement in general, because I think that's unbelievably important. It will also diversify the coalition. It will diversify the goals of this coalition. And it is important to like, and I'm saying this directionally, like directly target young black voters in general. Okay. But this is about New York politics in particular. Okay. Zohran Mamdani, there's no socialism without black socialists. Zohran Mamdani has gained a lot from playing ball with black political establishment in New York. But if he wants to achieve his agenda in the long term, he must turn to the black socialist insurgents. It's Thursday, June 26th. The fresh winner of the Democratic primary, Zohran Mamdani, is a problem. Emblazoned on the front page of the New York Times, the story titled, Mamdani triumphed without a majority of black voters. Where does that leave them? The future mayor had won the Democratic primary without winning a majority of black precincts. Given the unmistakable footprint of black political power in New York City, this is a serious problem. It would be impossible to govern effectively without black New Yorkers as a key political constituency. So, after Mamdani lost a black vote during the primary, his black supporters got organized. Black New Yorkers mobilized through organizations like New York City DSA's Afro-Socialists and Socialists of Color Caucus. We grew here, and affinity groups like Africans with Zohran. People threw parties, ran fundraisers, canvassed throughout the city, focusing on predominantly black and brown neighborhoods such as Jamaica, Brownsville, and East Flatbush. Many of these volunteers were young, some even in their teens. These young people spoke with their parents, organized in their unions, and worked hard, successfully organizing their communities around the campaign. Okay? Mamdani himself, meanwhile, prioritized building relationships with black establishment figures. Several local elected officials who had originally endorsed the disgraced Andrew Cuomo, like Assembly members Eric Dillon, Jordan Wright, switched teams once they saw the wind was behind Mamdani's sails. Mamdani also received a congratulatory call from President Barack Obama and even tepid endorsements from the former Vice President Kamala Harris and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. The result, in the general election, Mamdani improved his vote margin with black votes by a landslide. He had successfully brought the black political class into the affordability agenda. His efforts had worked. Then something happened. On the heels of Mamdani's November victory, black 27-year-old city council member Chiose, Hasanabi head, made a New York City DSA endorsement bid seeking the organization's support to challenge the seat of Hakeem Jeffries. During the primary and general election campaigns, Chiose was one of Mamdani's fiercest advocates, but he is also a political force in his own right. In 2021, Osei won his insurgent city council race without the support of black Brooklyn political machine, instead winning his surprise victory by building a grassroots campaign not beholden to corporate interests and unabashedly progressive in its vision. At the endorsement forum, many of Mamdani's most ardent black volunteers called on New York City DSA members to vote yes and endorse Osei's candidacy, hoping his campaign could cohere a black socialist alternative to the establishment politics of Hakeem Jeffries in New York. Mamdani, however, urged members of New York City DSA to vote no, something that I also was against. He believed that the affordability agenda depended on support from important members of the Democratic establishment and would be compromised if New York City DSA challenged the House Minority Leader. Osei lost the endorsement vote by a slim margin. Osei's endorsement fight illuminated a key feature of Mamdani's political strategy for black New Yorkers: protect the black political establishment through favors and protection from challengers, and in return, they would support his affordability agenda. In a truly remarkable fashion, the mayor was able to close this fiscal year's historic budget deficit with a mix of state aid, new pied-à-terre tax, and a pension funding maneuver with the support of New York State Assembly Speaker Carl Hesty. Many people have argued that this clearly validates Mamdani's approach. But in order to fund the affordability agenda, the mayor will need more than insider politics. Despite his success with the budget, there are cracks, from his proxy fight in the city council speaker's race to the botched property tax gambit. Mamdani has not been able to build true political allies within the black political class. For the Mamdani administration to achieve his ambitious goal, the mayor will need to develop a political vision that speaks for the diversity of New York's black working class. The mayor needs to cohere an alternative political pole that centers black working class people in New York politics, a socialism that centers black New Yorkers with its own political leadership and treats black New Yorkers like their own active political subject. The most pressing need is for the mayor to endorse all four of New York City DSA's black insurgent candidates, which your boy has endorsed. Obviously, you met them. Conrad Blackburn, Darlisa Avila Chevalier, which I will be linking up with in New York this upcoming weekend. I'll be in New York for Memorial Day weekend. Ian Huntley, and Christian Celeste Tate. The strategic motivations for this decision are clear. These four candidates represent the beginnings of an alternative political pole in black New York politics, one rooted in mass organizing and democratic socialist politics. Now, all of these candidates are obviously running against entrenched black political power in New York City politics, okay? They're running against entrenched power within the Democratic Party. Let's just say it like that, not just black, not just entrenched black political power, but just entrenched Democratic Party power. They're running against the Democratic Party machine. And these insurgencies need to win, okay? We have to unseat the old guard that has, for far too long, done business as usual politics. And the ones that remain will also change their mentality as well. Will recognize that this is a force to be reckoned with, okay? Very important. The strategic motivations for this decision are clear. These four candidates represent the beginnings of an alternative political pole in black New York politics, one rooted in mass organizing and democratic socialist politics. They want to tax the rich, protect our immigrant neighbors, and build a New York everyone can afford, no political cover needed. With Mamdani's weight behind them, they pose much more credible threats in their races and gain access to support and resources otherwise held exclusively by the decaying political establishment. This need is not distinct from his desire to achieve the affordability agenda. The thing is, if Zoran can stick his neck out for that other race that he lost, I forget her name now. She was one of the early supporters of Zoran Mamdani as well. As DSA cadre mayor of New York, like he can flex a little bit. I think Lindsey Boylan, yes, and he is also sticking his neck out for Claire Valdez, who I fucking love, by the way. I mean, Claire has been phenomenal. Okay, you guys know this. I'm a huge fan. Unbelievably impressive. Definitely, I already had I already had like an expectation that she would be great, right? But I did not think she would be this great. Okay, and that is a political decision. That's a political maneuvering from Zoran against the Working Families Party back candidate. Like she's doing that, right? She's doing that already. Lindsay didn't have ground game. It was a special election, to be fair. Yes, but it was already a political maneuver where Zoran Mamdani stuck his neck out. Yeah, Morris Katz took a fat L on that one, according to Holly Pretsky, the City and State New York reporter. Regardless, I don't, this is irrelevant to me. Okay, I think Fight Agency is great. They work with a lot of candidates that I obviously like, and a lot of candidates that I have worked with as well. But they're not. That's an ad agency. Okay. Regardless of how wonderful the people are at the Fight Agency, they're an ad agency. Okay. They're not a political organization. The Democratic Socialists of America is a political organization. Okay. The DSA has political goals, clear-cut political goals, well-established political goals. They don't work with every single person. They have members. They have members that there are paper endorsements. There are members who run for positions of power. It's a very different structure. Okay. Anyway, but the DSA isn't a political party. It's not a political party for the time being. Yes, it is a political organization that works within the ranks of the Democratic Party as a political party in the current duopoly that we have. Okay. There are different schools of thought within the DSA as well on this issue, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Okay. So, to succeed, the mayor ultimately needs to build a coalition that is actively invested in his administration's success. While transactional politics may notch him some early successes, Black establishment figures are concerned with maintaining the status quo and see democratic socialism as a threat to their own power. This is true. And it's not, it's beyond, like, it's Black political power within the Democratic Party is entrenched political power that is oftentimes backing pro-corporate Democrats, oftentimes has pro-Israel politics. The CBC, in many respects, is unbelievably pro-Israel. Not across the board, obviously, but it's true, right? It is a very, very important part of the entrenched machine politics within the Democratic Party, okay? It is a bulwark It is the first line of defense for some of the do-nothing Democrats within the Democratic Party. Did you know you cannot talk about Democratic Socialist politicians on r/Democrats? Oh my God, who gives a fuck? Fuck them. Okay. This is clear from their most high-ranking leaders. House Minority Hakeem Jeffries has been openly antagonistic to the Socialist Project, stating that he would never bend the knee to hard-left democratic socialism, and is quietly dueled with Mamdani ally and New York City DSA member, State Senator Jabari Brisport, for hegemony in Brooklyn. Congressman Yvette Clarke has all but called Democratic Socialists like Bernie Sanders interlopers in the Democratic Party.
Actually exist and coexist as Americans. So I think people of goodwill are going to come together. I keep sharing with people. I don't really believe that the era we're living in right now is a right versus left. I think it's a right versus wrong. And people see what's going on. I mean, the corruption is rampant. People are being dragged out of their homes by DHS officers. No one wants to live with that. No one wants to be a witness or a party to that. And so I think that they're going to be people of goodwill who may not necessarily be registered as Democrats that are going to vote to make sure that this does not continue.
All right, we are going to leave it there. Chair Clarke, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Presented by the American Petroleum Institute. In Washington, there's one thing both parties agree on. It takes too long to build in America. Energy projects and critical infrastructure get stuck in red tape for years. It's time for Congress to pass permitting reform, to modernize the process, cut delays, and build while protecting communities and the environment. Learn more at permittingreformnow.org.
For our reporter panel today, we're joined by Michael Jones of Once Upon a Hill and our very own co-founder, John Bresnahan, joining us back for the panel. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. All right, we just had CBC Chair Clarke talking a lot about the Supreme Court case, its impact on the CBC. I'll start with you, Michael. Do you think the CBC can bounce back from these losses?
Yeah, I think the thing that's interesting to me, and I listened to Chair Clarke, and this is, what the sentiment I've heard from all the members that I've been speaking to this week is that they believe that, there's strength in numbers and the caucus is as big as it's ever been, but they really do believe that they can be influential at any size. And so I think that they're trying to figure out how do they harness their influence? How do they harness their power? Not in terms of how big.
Was that the right time slot? Or no? Was that the right time slot? No? It went viral on Twitter. I saw. If your goal was to show us an oil lobby ad, no, I went to piss. Okay, shut the fuck up, Chad. It was the timestamp from the article, but I don't know if that was actually. Oh my fucking Lord, Jesus Christ! You guys are so goddamn annoying. Okay, here.
Oh, my whole thing is, them's got to get the majority. Period. Full stop.
And you still believe?
I wish I had a number. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I haven't been following it to that extent, state by state.
But you still think Dems will win the majority?
Absolutely. Absolutely. People of goodwill understand what time it is. Everyone is hurting right now, with the exception of some multimillionaires, billionaires. But most Americans are hurting right now. And I think that even for those who it may not be so acute, they understand the disruptive nature. I mean, to witness in the United States of America, people getting gunned down for protesting, I don't know how people live.
Your liberalism is showing, King? What the fuck? American Petroleum advert, let's fucking go. Oh my God. We will never be able to. We will never lock in this community. Everyone, all the outsiders, all the naysayers and their criticisms are correct. We're a bunch of babies, okay, with baby brains. And that's all it is. Okay. All right. So, taking Twitch chat seriously, Lamont, I know I'm trying to have a serious conversation about the future of American socialism on a fucking Twitch chat. What am I expecting? Of course, there's going to be little babies that want to have fun. They're bored of the dialed in conversation that we're having. Congressman in Queens from Democratic County Chair Gregory Meeks never endorsed Zohran Mamdani. Most importantly, all three Congress members take money from the Israel lobby. Hakeem Jeffries, the man who said Israel today, Israel tomorrow, Israel forever, which is, by the way, a segregationist credo, will will not allow himself to be usurped by a Muslim anti-Zionist democratic socialist, even if he's willing to engage in short-term compromise to neutralize the challenge from the left. This is the clip I was looking for. Here's the Blackhawks chair, Representative Yvette Clarke, saying Mayor of New York City Zohran Mamdani should not be the face of the Democratic Party.
Mamdani the face of the Democratic Party. Are they wrong to try?
Absolutely. I keep sharing with people as a Democratic Party, and they're the Democratic Socialists of America. The Democratic Socialists of America don't have a party. So the closest alignment that they can have is to run as Democrats. Every time Bernie Sanders runs for office, he's a Democrat. But when he becomes a legislator in the Senate, he's an independent.
Yeah. This was what I was looking for. I don't know if that was the actual clip or not that you saw, but when Mamdani pitched his mayoral race in New York City DSA, he stated that his base of support would be young people, tenants who's motivated by Palestine solidarity movement and South Asian and Muslim New Yorkers, and he was correct. Mamdani's campaign cohered a disparate group of people who had no political home into protagonists capable of advocating for their own class interests, delivering one of the greatest political upsets of the century. However, his vision for working class protagonism has not extended to black New Yorkers in the same way. This is a mistake. Few communities have more to gain from democratic socialist politics or have been more consistently denied political champions than black New Yorkers. Further, the crisis of black political leadership is real, and the potential for democratic socialism as an answer to both economic and political problems facing black New Yorkers cannot be understated. The affordability crisis has hit black New Yorkers hard. Between 2000 and 2020, there has been a sharp exodus of black working class, literally 200,000 people, or of 9% of black New Yorkers. The political machines that built the black democratic establishment institutions have correspondingly also been hollowed out. In New York Magazine, journalist and Inside City Hall host Errol Lewis writes worryingly that local institutions can no longer attract young people, and Congressman Meeks states that he has trouble even recruiting black male lawyers for judicial slots. I have zero that come in to get interviewed, he complains. Is a real issue. Every other election cycle, commentators regularly talk about black men. They talk about how black people are no longer voting for the Democratic Party. Now, that fear is often overstated, but there is an underlying reality that they're touching on in possibly the worst way, okay? And that underlying reality is that, yes, young black voters are no longer voting for either party, just as young people are no longer voting or haven't really been activated appropriately regardless. Okay? The Democrats have taken the black vote for granted for far too long without actually offering anything back in exchange beyond simply stating the truth, which is that the opposition is overtly racist, right? But that's not working. It's not working any longer to build coalitions. It's not working to activate the youth in general. There's a reason why Bernie Sanders, who could not receive the endorsements or ever activate the black base of voters within the Democratic Party, was actually very successful in doing so amongst black youth, right? Overwhelming percentages. But there's so much more work that needs to be done in this regard, okay? And I think the revolutionary politics could be the thing. The revolutionary politics, socialism, could be the thing that primes young black voters in general and gets them more activated. A lot of leftists are racist. They just won't admit as much as conservatives. Okay, sure, fine. This is the opposite of that. You know what is a great solution to that problem? Okay, you know what's a great solution to that? Working with black communities. Okay, existing in black communities. It's a real issue. The political anxieties of waning black political power are manifest in the Mamdani administration. High-profile black appointees like Afua Atta-Mensah, who is the city's chief equity officer, and Jamila Edwards, the director of intergovernmental affairs, are not veterans of the Democratic clubhouses, Lewis writes. Then, in January, Mamdani announces appointments for 5 deputy mayors. None of them were black. Though he has since appointed a black woman as deputy mayor for community safety, Renita Francois. The narrative had been written. The Mamdani administration marks the end of traditional black political power, or at least it marks the end of that particular strain of black political power. When old institutions fail, new opportunities emerge. One example is the rise of black socialist Charles Barron in East New York in the late 90s. Strategist and political organizer Michael Lange profiles the Barron political machine in a neighborhood that is 87% black and Hispanic. Decades of disinvestment and systemic racism had rendered democratic institutions non-existent. Murders were so high in East New York that the neighborhood was referred to popularly as the killing fields. But this meant the field was open for an alternative as well. In 1997, the sitting Democratic City Council member Priscilla Wooten endorsed Rudy Giuliani for mayor. This was a political opportunity, a moment that showed that black elected officials were out of step with the political sentiments of the black community. Charles Barron seized upon this moment. He named an enemy the bought and paid for black establishment and positioned himself as the working class alternative. He ran twice for city council without institutional support, was able to support the endorsement of black Democratic Socialist and former mayor David Dinkins. Barron won his city council seat on his second try in 2001, building a black socialist political dynasty that lasted for over 20 years until he was narrowly defeated by Chris Banks in 2023. Mamdani's victory reveals a similar political opportunity. CNN exit polls from the mayoral general election show that Mamdani won a supermajority of black youth aged 18 to 29 at 84% compared to the 66% white youth. Okay? That's massive. This is the example that I use all the fucking time. Okay? Which is the idea that like, oh, black voters are conservative by and large. No, the fuck they're not. Okay? They just don't have someone to vote for. Okay? It's just objectively untrue when matched with the rest of the electorate. Black voters have historically always been the most progressive voting bloc. Okay? 100% of the time. Always. And it's very annoying whenever people make that argument, whenever people have that conversation where it's like, oh, well, you know, the black men, they're homophobic. It's like, dude, look at the rest of the fucking, like, match the demographic that you're talking about with the fucking rest of the population, okay? It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous argument to present. It's ridiculous. 2/3 of black New Yorkers are renters, and nearly half of those New Yorkers live in rent-stabilized housing. The people most affected by the affordability crisis in New York are young black New Yorkers. The demographics of black New York have also shifted. Nearly half of black New Yorkers are foreign-born. This emergent class of black New Yorkers needs new leadership that can unify their demands. The black establishment has no real plan to organize these emergent constituencies. In order to maintain power, they cater to corporate sponsors who, in turn, undermine and displace their own base of support through gentrification and the refusal to address the affordability crisis. Moreover, the Republican opposition is aware of the fractures within the working class and seeks to exploit these divisions. On November 2nd, 2024, Donald Trump said that illegal immigrants have taken the job of African Americans. Establishment Democrats are weak-willed and feckless, and the MAGA opposition knows it. Do-nothing Democrat leadership has been one of the most disorganizing forces for the American working class, especially the black working class, which, again, another thing that people always say. Labor unions are racist. Historically, there is truth to this sentiment. Black people have a higher union participation rate than any other demographic in this country. I bet you didn't fucking know that. That's right. It's true. Literally, look it up. The working class in the United States of America resembles the demographics of the United States of America. America is a very diverse country, okay? Far more diverse than most countries, okay? And of course, it's reflected within the demographics of labor union participation as well. Even more crucially, it is already on its way out. If the mayor continues to play the traditional black establishment, he is choosing the losing team and risks dissolving this crucial constituency. What is this? You now have shared ops? What? With a Texas candidate? Oh, come on. Is it the Maureen Galindo lady? Is that what you're talking about? Mamdani must choose. He can govern in coalition with an ideologically opposed, eroding black establishment, or he can organize the emergent black coalition that mobilized for him. He cannot do both. Many in the political class have remarked on Mamdani's incredible talent for communication and charm, but his most distinctive attribute is his commitment to political organization. Thousands of New Yorkers joined political organizations like New York City DSA when he won his election, and many thousands more volunteered in his campaign. Mamdani can name a political adversary, present a clear pathway for defeating the enemy, and then bring his coalition into an organization where their struggles can be actualized. Take, for example, Harlem. New York DSA has no elected officials in Harlem, but in the primary election, Mamdani won this region by 18 points in the first round. Blackburn and Chevalier's races are an opportunity to consolidate this victory and present New York City DSA and Mamdani as truly ascendant as a political project. Okay? First, both candidates have clear principles that allow them to name enemies they can polarize their base against. Both Blackburn and Chevalier are anti-Zionist and democratic socialists. Blackburn comes from a working class background, is the son of a single mother, and has dedicated his life to service as a public defender and a union organizer. Wright is the heir to a political dynasty with his father, Keith L.T. Wright. If you recall, we talked about this briefly with Conrad when he was on stream, sitting in that same assembly seat for over 20 years, and in 2024 received the endorsement of Solidarity PAC, a pro-Israel group. Before running for Congress, Chevalier was a PhD student at Columbia and, like Mamdani, organized closely with Students for Justice in Palestine. Congressman Espaillat, by contrast, is an ardent supporter of Israel and has received over $100,000 from AIPAC this cycle. I'm going to say it one more time. I will be doing something with Daraliza Chevalier this upcoming weekend. Okay? Both Espaillat and Wright take money from the real estate corporations, even as their constituents experience record levels of displacement. These incumbents are out of step with the electorate. The presentation of an alternative has been galvanizing for the base. Current growth in the Bronx and Upper Manhattan branch of New York City DSA far outpaces that of Brooklyn and Queens. Even early polling shows Chevalier has already made a strong challenge to the 10-year incumbent. Let's take a look at that. Challenger poll shows soft support for Espaillat in New York's 13. Only 42% of likely Democratic primary voters in the House district spanning Upper Manhattan and parts of the Bronx would vote for longtime incumbent U.S. Representative Adriano Espaillat in the primary election, according to an internal poll from challenger Daraliza Avila Chevalier. I hope I'm not fucking up her name. Avila. Based on name recognition alone, voters picked Espaillat over Chevalier 42 to 28%, according to results shared with the city. However, once respondents heard positive message about Avila's platform, Daraliza's platform, the challenger's campaign said she leapfrogged the five-term incumbent 46% to 35%. Another Democratic candidate in the 13th congressional district primary, Oscar Romero, comes in a distant third at 4%. The New York City election person says Daraliza's race is a toss-up. I guess that's good news. It's good news. However, what is this? Why does Hassan have beef with Pac-Man? Didn't he say he was AIPAC funded? I don't know how Pac-Man loves Israel. I listen to him daily and he doesn't mention Israel at all. Also, I can't reply directly on mobile. I did not say David Pac-Man was funded by AIPAC. I literally said the exact opposite of that. David Pac-Man has made a reference to me saying he was funded by AIPAC when I have said the exact opposite of that. I've literally said I don't think David Pac-Man, I have jokingly referred to him as David A. Pac-Man in the past, because he has referenced that he doesn't know how to say the word AIPAC, which I think is ridiculous. I think that was a lie. Okay. Sup Santana. I don't even know. Are you getting a clip off? Is that what it is? It made it seem like he had never heard of the word AIPAC or how to say it. I think that's ridiculous. And not only that, but of course you don't know his positions on Israel because he doesn't talk about Israel all that much. Anyway, even the haters can get free clips at the Hasanabi broadcast. Come get the smoke. Yeah. Anyway, Tate and Huntley's races in Brooklyn even more aptly represent Mamdani's power. Mamdani won handily in these districts. The fact that it's also a toss-up for the record. He talked about Israel to deny Israel bomb hospitals in Gaza. Okay, whatever. I don't care about David Pac-Man right now. Come on, man. Lock in. Everybody lock in. Okay, we're moving on from David Pac-Man. What the fuck difference does David Pac-Man make right now? We're talking about specific races in New York City. Yeah, Bernie, by the way, endorsed the entire New York City DSA slate for the record because he's beast mode. He is the GOAT. He has not endorsed the congressional races, however, in the DSA slate, which Daraliza is a part of. It would be very nice if he did that, but I think it would be even more nice if Mamdani, as the mayor, stuck his neck out a little bit for Daraliza specifically, because Daraliza is running in a congressional race. It's not the local races. Those were the ones that Bernie Sanders endorsed, right? She's going to need help. That's why I'm trying to offer as much help as I can, but I'm just one fucking person on the outside. I don't even live in New York City, right? I can mobilize this community, which is, you know, what I urge you to do. Obviously, go out and knock on doors for her, but we need more help. And Zoran did stick his neck out for, obviously, Valdez, right? Going against the incumbent on her way out. Pretty sure Espaillat endorsed Mamdani. Yeah, I don't know if Espaillat endorsed him or not, but he's not gonna take a risky initiative against Espaillat. Espaillat campaigned with Zoran and endorsed Zoran. Okay, that makes sense as to why he wouldn't do it. Bushwick by 67 points in the primary and Bed-Stuy by 43 points. Each of these candidates has a strong chance of winning their seats regardless of Mamdani's endorsement, but by endorsing, he has the opportunity to make a positive intervention in the success of black socialism in New York City. There may be trepidation in endorsement against black incumbents, especially Espaillat, right, and Tate's opponent, Assemblymember Eric Dillon. Each incumbent endorsed Mamdani during the general and together helped produce the coalition that allowed him to take power. It is possible to argue that endorsing these insurgents would alienate even more members of the black political class and put a wrench in his governing coalition. But the strongest coalitions are built on shared goals, not personal relationships. Only a shared goal can provide a serious basis for cooperation. Also, here's the other side of this. If you have actual DSA people in those seats, if you can flip those seats to the insurgency campaigns, okay, then all of a sudden you have stronger leverage against the entrenched political class in New York, okay? Then you actually have a leverage when you go to the bargaining table, okay? Sure, there might be some anger, there might be a little bit of resentment, but you also, you know what's better than anger and resentment? Leverage, okay? This way, when you do have this leverage, you can just be like, look, we're buddy, we're boys, you know, let's dab it up. But also, look, we got our people here as well, okay? I don't think there is any other, what is it? I'm going to be honest, Bernie might be a shitlib, but you got to respect him. Opportunist shitlibs in leadership positions in countries refuse to push leadership for the left and even sabotage the left flank. Bernie's a clear outlier in this regard. Okay, Bernie Sanders, you know, I have my criticisms of him when it comes to foreign policy and whatnot, but yes, he has always, one of the things that I've always said, he's not I wouldn't say he's a shit lib, okay, that's ridiculous. You have to adjust to the rest of Congress, that's insane. But like, Bernie Sanders has never shied away from making endorsements for people, like has never shied away from endorsing people that are absolutely to his left on a lot of these issues that I disagree with him on, like Israel. Okay? I have significant disagreements with Bernie Sanders on the issue of Israel. Bernie Sanders has literally endorsed anti-Zionists over and over again. He is the primary vehicle in many respects for a growing anti-Zionist movement in the country. Okay? It is ridiculous. So that is, in my opinion, much more consequential than his own personal politics that are unfortunately unchanging because he's 800 years old. Anyway, without that short goal, even the most deep personal connection will fall to the side and be replaced by political interest. The congressional race in New York 7 is a prime example. After announcing her retirement, Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez, this is what we were talking about with Claire Valdez, obviously, endorsed Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso, while Zoran Mamdani endorsed fellow New York City DSA member Claire Valdez. Although the progressives and socialists had worked together to win Mamdani's mayoralty, as soon as the political stakes were clear, the war between the progressives and the socialists began. So he stuck his neck out there, right, for Claire. And I'm really glad he did, because Claire Valdez is fucking phenomenal, okay? Will be one of the best congresspersons. And I'm super stoked on that race. I'm super stoked on Claire. She's phenomenal, okay? He's willing to make the risky choices in that situation against Nydia Velázquez, who's on her way out. So certainly the stakes are a little bit different, you know? But it's very clear that he's willing to even fight against the Working Families Party in this race. To win the mayoralty, Mamdani had to build a large coalition with socialists and progressives, and in the general election of the liberal establishment, all united under a single project, ensuring Andrew Cuomo's defeat. Congresswoman Velasquez was an early and prominent endorser of the mayor, but she had a different vision for her congressional seat. As political conditions change, so do coalitions. The coalition that delivered the mayoralty had served its purpose. Wright, Espaillat, and Dillon endorsed Cuomo in the primary and then endorsed Mamdani in the general, not because they suddenly believed in Mamdani's political vision, but because they saw the movement's power. They needed to protect themselves to get along with Mamdani's movement or be left behind. By building working class power in the primary, even while losing a plurality of black voters, he scared the black political establishment. It is time for Mamdani to continue building that same independent and progressive working class power and to build it where it may be the weakest, Black New York. To secure the transformative vision of his administration, he will now need to expand the base of the black working class. He must include them not merely as supporters, but as active and political agents in his project, as people who share his political vision for what society could be. Furthermore, building with black socialists will make for a much more durable coalition, because socialists' primary goal is to shift power to the working class. The shared interest between the black working class and Mamdani's own coalition has longer horizon and more distinct strategies and a defined enemy, the billionaire class. Black socialist incumbents like Assemblymember Farah Souffrant Forrest, City Council Member Chi Ose, State Senator Jabari Bisport genuinely believe in Mamdani's political project and for transforming New York City. Disagreements like Ose's endorsement bid are strategic, not ideological. They all share the same vision and work to actualize it. Relationships and favors can never substitute the power of people coming together for a common goal. We have all but forgotten communist-affiliated institutions like the Highlander Research and Education Center, founded in 1932 by white labor and civil rights activist Miles Horton. The Highlander Research and Education Center was a social justice school focused on training critical leaders in progressive struggles, including figures like Rosa Parks and Septima Clark, the latter of whom was key in the fight for the Voting Rights Act. At Highlander, I found out for the first time in my adult life that this could be a unified society. I gained strength there to persevere in my work for freedom, not just for blacks, but for all oppressed people, Parks recalls. Organization makes clear our shared goals. Okay? Black people have never done anything wrong ever. Here, eat this fucking permaban and suck my cock on the way out. Okay? How is this your fucking takeaway here? Like, I'm sorry, but that is genuinely white resentment. Okay? What you're demonstrating is genuinely fucking white resentment. You are the annoying fucking leftist who's like, oh God, why are we talking about fucking black people over and over again? Black people are also working class. As a matter of fact, in much higher percentages than everybody else. Okay? The fuck is wrong with you? Stop behaving this way. Stop behaving in the way of like the classic stereotypical annoying fucking white shit lib. Or white leftist. I don't think that guy was a leftist. Roach said this earlier. I get so confused. Is Hassan talking about a chatter? Yeah, there's just like fucking dumbass person that came in to talk shit. And this political vision is not just necessary for New York City. Black populations have decreased across blue cities in northern and western parts of the United States. Some call this phenomenon the new Great Migration, as the cost of living crisis has forced many black families to move from cities like Chicago, New York, to Republican-controlled states like North Carolina, Tennessee, and Florida. By displacing black urban dwellers, the national affordability crisis throttling working-class organization were strongest. Nearly 30% of black voters in New York City are unionized compared to the average of 20%, for example. In right-to-work states in the Southeast, the number of black workers unionized is only 7%. Many of these states have weak social safety nets, little to no public transit, gerrymandered maps such that black people have been drawn out of political power. Talked about this earlier as well. Can you address shit libs that say the black middle class doesn't want working class politics? No, there is a black petite bourgeois class. This is true. Many of them are boomers. They've been able to secure a comfortable nest egg for themselves. Some of them even are homeowners, and they are antagonistic to working class politics. But it doesn't fucking matter because they're not the majority. Okay? Yes, that exists for sure in the United States of America. And guess what? It exists in every fucking demographic, not just black people, okay? I know. Unc talks about it all the time, FD signifier. But here's what's not helpful. Constantly treating the entire demographic of black voters or just black people in general as like potentially a reactionary force. You know, that's unbelievably stupid. It's literally untrue. And this is precisely what I'm trying to get at here, that there are like here's one aspect that is always very frustrating to me. Okay. Black women constantly get sidelined in all of these conversations. Okay. They're very radical. And there are a bunch of black women that are in this coalition. Ayanna Pressley is one of them. Summer Lee obviously is another example. And Cori Bush, right? And here's the thing. I do think that the Congressional Black Caucus sometimes also writes them off too. Okay? Because they are a threat to entrenched power, and therefore they never get the appropriate shine that they deserve. In some respects, not always. Okay, Ilhan Omar, another example. See, I'm doing it myself. I'm forgetting black women personally. Okay, not always. Before people get mad at me, not always. Okay, I'm not saying always, but there are certain instances where they do get sidelined when they are worthy of all the praise. Okay, they're incredible. They're fantastic. They're some of obviously my favorite politicians in the country, as you guys know. So it's up to us to not only highlight them, but to also push for more black people to run, black socialists to run as well. Okay? Nina Turner is another example. Someday, Mamdani will leave office. Will he do it like Mayor Bill de Blasio as a competent manager in a city of entrenched inequality, a feckless black establishment, and ever-dwindling black political participation? Or will he be able to build a political movement that makes black New Yorkers leaders in their own struggle for a better future? By not endorsing New York DSA's black insurgent candidates and deferring to the black political establishment, the mayor is foreclosing opportunity to build a new political project that actually serves black New Yorkers. This is not just a New York issue, man. This is literally the issue, I think. I often talk about how much of an opportunity exists in the South for revolutionary organizing, for mobilizing the DSA and putting numbers on the fucking board. Okay? There is no organizing, especially in the South, without black organizing. That's it. And in many respects, it is the most consequential issue for 2028. If you want someone who is remotely a socialist or directly a socialist to come anywhere near power within the ranks of the Democratic Party, you have to break through that. Okay? It's that simple. Yeah, on that note, I got to go to, Atlanta when? I know. I will come to Atlanta. Okay? Unlike the black political establishment, Mamdani has many political successors who share his vision. However, if he does not organize these successors into political force, the socialist project in New York and beyond is doomed to fail. By the numbers, black voters are the most advanced section of the working class. They are the most unionized and most likely to be tenants, but they currently lack a political home. If Mamdani does not endorse New York City's DSA's black insurgent campaigns, he will sever himself from the emerging black socialist pole, and in doing so, fracture the socialist movement rather than build it. This is not inevitable. The mayor has a chance to build a bench of black socialist leaders and organize a new constituency for the democratic socialism for decades to come. He only has to reach forward and take it. Straight up. He was a canvas lead. The person who wrote this is a DSA guy. And, it's obviously a very thoughtful piece. It's a great article. And I think it's 100% correct. And it's not just, there's not just a lesson there for, what is this? It's very ironic that the groundwork chair wrote this article, given how destructive their caucus has been to black organizing in Atlanta DSA. Dude, is there ever an opportunity, Slatty Matty, where you don't fucking, where you guys don't chirp about like internal DSA dynamics? I mean, he is like, come on. Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. God, Hoscord, holy shit. Please just fucking nip it in the goddamn bud for like 3.5 fucking seconds. Please. is one of the worst aspects. Ironically, I'm doing it as well currently, but it's one of the worst aspects of like, internal conversations that become external drama for some fucking weird reason. Don't make me bust out the Groundworks La Boo Boo, okay? La Fufu. I will do it. I will fucking put it on my goddamn microphone if you keep chirping. It's a caucus, chatters. It's a caucus. It's one of the caucuses in DSA. Internal DSA arguments that have nothing to do with this. Nothing to do with New York City DSA, okay? Nothing at all. Also, Tara's not saying Zoran is like anti-black by any means. He's not saying that at all. He's just saying that Zoran is in a tricky situation where he has to he has to gain the aid of entrenched power in New York City, and part of that is entrenched black political power in New York City in the Democratic Party machine. But entrenched black political power is institutional power and is absolutely further to the right than the DSA agenda is. And the New York City DSA slate has a bunch of insurgent candidates that Zoran has not endorsed because he's moving very carefully because he's worried about offending or pissing off key groups that he needs to govern effectively. Okay. And he's gotten some amenities from the allegiances that he has. But the argument here is that those allegiances are going to be short-lived. Okay. So when you have the maximum amount of motion, you should use it to make some risky decisions. And there have been instances where he's made risky decisions, obviously, with the Boylan endorsement. And it was not only very risky, but it was also no love for Mug. Okay, dude. Yes, love for all the caucus. I love all the caucuses, okay? I am a fan of all of the DSA, okay? I hug and kiss all of you. Every single one of you, okay? Jesus Christ. No, not the root beer chatters. It's fucking, what is it, Marxist Unity Group? That's what it is, right? Yeah, Mug is the Marxist Unity Group. DSA internal politics is insufferable. It's fine. It happens. Democratic Parasocialists of America. Lenin was right to ban factions. Stop ignoring black voices. We need to figure out a way to bring the black aunties the same way you've been able to bring the Barbers and the Debras. Yeah. But that's why I actually had no issue with what Zoran was doing with Barack Obama. Okay? That's why I think it's good that Barack Obama wanted a little bit of that Zoran motion. A lot of people don't understand that. They were like, whoa, what do you mean? He's a war criminal. Okay, dude. Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that mentality. Okay? He needs that. Every DSA, sorry for burping. Every DSA candidate could benefit from being aligned with Barack Obama. I promise you. Not to make any concessions to, Barack Obama's style of neoliberalism, but absolutely impactful to get a little bit of that Barack Obama bump. Okay? Need you in more establishment black Democrat media spaces? Yeah. You got to stop swearing if you want to attract the black aunties. No, I know. I mean, I think black aunties like me for the most part. Maybe not K-Hive, but a lot of K-Hive is white anyway. So, yeah. AOC in Georgia, speech at the Ebenezer Baptist was good. Yeah. To unlock the heart of black aunties, the Fedayeen of the Democratic Party, the IRGC to the Democratic Party's Islamic Republic, which is the Aunt Guard. It's not even the Unk Guard. It's the Black Auntie Guard. Okay. And the heart to that goes through, in some respects, the churches as well. You gotta be where black aunties are, and you gotta speak to their issues, their problems, and you have to organize in these communities. Okay. And also, in some instances, you also have to be black. I think that's what you got to do. Black women have a lot of power in the culture. Yeah, of course. My black auntie blames you for Kamala's loss. Yeah, I know. Black aunties love Kamala. I know. Yeah, black sororities, the Divine Nine, black universities. I mean, I think like entrenched political power also comes in some respects from like places like Howard, for sure. The New York Post, but still, activists who sent Ilhan Omar's daughter and Hassan Piker on Cuba aid convoy has ties to Hamas and Iran. Wait, what? Who are they disparaging? Medea Benjamin, my queen. Exclusive. Activist who sent Ilhan Omar's daughter and Hassan Piker on Cuba aid convoy has ties to Hamas and Iran. That's Medea Benjamin. Put some respect on her name. New York Post or California Post. Have any HBCUs reached out for speaking engagements? No. Yeah, 2028 primary, Dem primary crosstabs. Okay, this is 2028 Dem primary crosstabs, top 4. Black Dems, Harris, 40%. Newsom, 17%. AOC, 4%. With white Dems, Harris is at 18%. With Hispanic Dems, Harris is at 25%. It's because the Democratic primary fucking... The Democrats are they're busy on name recognition. Okay, that's not going to be a problem. Go speak at Howard University. You want pussy? What? I would love to speak at Howard University. What the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, this was a good piece overall. Now let's get back to Donald Trump, everyone's favorite president, Donald Trump, and his endorsement of Ken motherfucking Paxton.
News, Tim, for you. Donald J. Trump on Truth Social, and it's pretty long. Has posted that he is endorsing in the Texas Senate runoff Ken Paxton. No huge surprise. The incumbent, John Cornyn, said just yesterday that, that ship has sailed. He was not expecting the endorsement. Wow. But it's interesting when and I've only skimmed it, to be fair, because it was just handed to me. He called Ken a true MAGA warrior who has always delivered for Texas. It's not until paragraph 4 he brings up John Cornyn, where he says,
we'll follow up with your team, but I know professors and clubs, both at Howard and Georgetown, would like to bring you out in the fall to speak. I would love that. Dude, I would fucking love to speak at, especially Howard. Oh my God, that'd be so sick. You kidding me?
He's a good man. I worked well with him, but he was not supportive of me when times were tough, which is pretty much Donald Trump's decision-making in a nutshell. Yeah. Support me or else.
I don't know. I think this is pretty telling. It's a little bit of a back down for Trump. Cornyn won. They're in a runoff now. So in the first round of balloting, Cornyn had the lead, and Trump had said he was going to endorse the person that won the first round of balloting because he didn't want this long drawn out primary. Thought it might hurt the eventual nominee against James Tallarico. Huge backlash among his supporters, MAGA supporters, to that idea that he would endorse Cornyn, and then he kind of went quiet on the race for a while. For him to now flip and endorse Paxton, who lost in the first round. To me, I think shows it's kind of a similar story to the Massey story. He's worried about losing ground really for the first time in a long time with his MAGA base. And while, they might not have a majority in opposition to him, the fact that he feels the need to try to shore that up by endorsing Ken Paxton, a very risky bet, tons of baggage, and very possible that he could lose to James Tallarico, and that could be the deciding vote in the Senate. I think making such a risky bet to appease his MAGA allies shows you that Trump's worried about losing altitude with his own base.
Let me go back, if I can, to Michael Schnell. You may be in Kentucky, but you have followed from your perch on the Hill this Texas race very closely. What's your impression of this?
Yeah, I mean, this is a massive move and a massive development for Senate GOP leadership. Think about somebody like John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader. He had been pressing President Trump and his team to endorse John Cornyn in this race. The establishment Republicans up on Capitol Hill wanted to see John Cornyn have another term in the Senate. So this is a massive blow to them and will have likely significant implications for that Texas Senate runoff that's happening next week. And I think as I'm here in Kentucky and we're talking about this Trump retribution tour,
bro, I'm sorry, but this is exciting. Okay? I posted so many vague threats against Ken Paxton last summer that a surveillance drone came and checked me out. What the fuck are you admitting to, chatter? We do not co-sign on that. That's what the fuck are you talking about, dude? That's crazy. I disavowed that. Okay, what are you doing? There's literally Fox News producers in my fucking chat. I have banned to the Fox News producers. We have banned that guy. We disavow it. We banned it. It's not. Yeah. All right, moving on.
John Cornyn is somebody who just had more of a bipartisan flair up on Capitol Hill. He liked to work with Democrats. He supported more of those bipartisan deals. He voted for them. He helped craft them, working with his colleagues. And he was a bit skeptical of President Trump's comeback. So it just shows that sort of this is what Thomas Massie's going through. It's what Bill Cassidy just went through. It's what those Indiana state senators are going through. That in this modern day Republican Party, if you are not completely in lockstep with President Trump, there could be some of these repercussions. Clearly, that happened in Indiana. It happened in Louisiana. It's happening right now in Texas. That's what Thomas Massie is trying to show doesn't always have to be the case. But as we're seeing, this seems to be the political gravity right now in the Republican Party. So just a fascinating development that President Trump had pushed off for so long. And again, a really big blow for Republican leadership up on Capitol Hill right now. Folks who were really pressing President Trump's team to go with a Cornyn endorsement. Obviously, the news right now that he has gone with a Paxton endorsement.
Yeah, with that as the backdrop, if I can, there's a new poll from the Barbara Jordan Public Policy Research and Survey Center at Texas Southern University. And what that found was a razor-thin margin between the two potential candidates. It found Senator John Cornyn leading Democrat James Tallarico by 1% in a hypothetical matchup. Ken Paxton and James Tallarico are tied at 45%. So obviously, these are results within the margin of error. Now, I just got this from Tallarico for Texas, which is the statement they put out. And he said, as I said on primary night, it doesn't matter who wins this runoff. We already know what we're running against, the billionaire mega donors and their corrupt political system. So I wonder, when you take all of that information together, Tim, what you make of it.
Well, look, I think it's going to be still a tough race for James Tallarico. It's Texas, after all, but this is obviously a preferable opponent, and it makes sense that he doesn't want to say that, but it helps them make that case against corruption, which he's been making on the campaign trail during the primary. To have an opponent who is corrupt, who'd been indicted, who's going to be backed by, the big donors in the Epstein class, I think that makes his case much easier. It's going to be a challenging race. Look, I think that Tallarico has run a good campaign so far and recognizes that he's got to win over some Trump voters. And I think...
Is this another Bleggs' wish casting? No, this is... I personally think... I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to, engage in any sort of fucking hubris here, but I genuinely think this is the closest we have been to a Bleggs' in years. I mean, this is even... I would go so far as to say it's even better chances than what's his face, Beto. Straight up, this is like virtually every single thing. It was such a long shot, right? But every single thing that had to go right so far for this to happen has happened, right? You have this heated Democratic Party primary between Tallarico and Crockett. Tallarico had a better coalition for potentially winning than Crockett did. I'm sorry. Tallarico didn't have some of the, establishment Democrats stink that Crockett had. This is not, no disrespect to Jasmine Crockett. I know there's a lot of diehard Jasmine Crockett heads out there, and they're going to come after me, and they're going to fucking shank me in the side and kill me and leave me for dead bleeding on the sidewalk. But I'm just, they're Crockett heads are pretty ruthless out here. They're fucking ruthless. They will. She just endorsed Becerra today, but like Crockett had a lot of the Crocketeers. Crockett had a lot of Democratic Party allegiances, for example, that might not play well in a primary. Might not play well in a general, right? In any case, Tallarico won that that primary, which was huge. But then also beyond that, Ken Paxton was a far better candidate for Tallarico to go up against. So as much as I am a little bit worried about Tallarico's allegiances, because like some of the PACs that are backing him are, the same exact ones that work with Mallory McMorrow, for example. So I'm a little shy about what he will do or what he will turn into. I mean, he's got Liz Smith, that whole operation, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. This is Texas we're talking about, so I don't give a shit, I'll let bygones be bygones. I don't give a fuck. I do worry about what that could do to his, how he will legislate, I guess. But it's Texas at the end of the day, so who gives a fuck? He has a long history on the ground, Christ sock work. Yeah, but I mean, who knows? Obviously, in comparison to fucking Ken Paxton, it's not even a question. I mean, it's literally, he might as well be the second coming of Lenin, okay? If we're matching James fucking Tallarico against Ken Paxton, yes, he's literally a revolutionary, okay? It's Ken Paxton. He's not just a regular Republican, and many of the regular Republicans are demonic. He is a cut above, okay? We're talking 7th layer of hell. He's literally the comptroller of hell, okay? He is a demon that other Republican demons oppose. Understand something. Ken fucking Paxton is not just a regular Republican, and the regular Republicans are evil villains regardless. Ken Paxton is so controversial, he has been opposed by Texas Republicans. Okay? Senate votes take up measure to force Trump to end the Iran war. Let me guess, John Fetterman voted with the Republicans on this. Cruz and Paxton and Abbott, we have all the demons. I know, Texas Republicans, man, just straight up, straightforwardly demonic. Just some of the worst. Oh my God, some of the worst of the fucking worst. It's crazy. What is this, Galindo update? No, this is not an update. This is old. They're just writing it now. They're writing about it now, but we covered this already. Texas 35 Democratic candidate Maureen Galindo says she will convert ICE detention centers in Karnes County into an internment camp for American Zionists. It will also be a castration processing center for pedophiles, which will probably be most of the Zionists, she added. I'm not saying anything, okay? I'm just shaking my head. John Favreau, this person should not be anywhere near public office. Every new statement is somehow crazier and more vile than the last. That's a Professor Jongist, okay? She's a Jongist, Marxist-Leninist Jongist, okay? Do you have any thoughts on viability between Francesca Hong and Mandela Barnes for Wisconsin governor? I'm trying to figure out if I can go to Wisconsin for Francesca, okay? Very excited about her. Your boy is playing stupid too. I could not have believed this individual could possibly become more reprehensible. I'm at a loss for words. Support her opponent and make it so that people don't have to hear her say things anymore. I mean, she's an insane person. I've already mentioned this, okay? I already mentioned Maureen Galindo is a crazy person. I think the more crazy she gets, the more her chances go up. But what do I know? I think this is Marjorie Taylor Blue. Okay? This is Marjorie Taylor Blue. We did it. The Democratic Party now has her own Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay? This is a new type of person. Oh, 100%. This is unlike anything I've ever encountered before. Objectively a crazy person. 80% of the way you're like, oh my God, she's so base. And then the last 20% you're like, oh my God, what the fuck did you just say? Literally, she could keep it to like a normal level. She could have just been like a relatively normal, tame candidate. But no. Text 35 is one of those issues that went from solid D to lean R in the new gerrymander. What is this? You're moving Kalshi markets? Okay, why would you show me that? I don't want to see that. As a Texan, she's as intense as psychotic Republicans here, and that's not a good thing. Two sides of the same unhinged coin here in Texas. Yeah, but does that actually put an ass in a seat? That's the real question. I think this is unpredictable. Okay? I think this is untested, uncharted waters. That's all I'm saying. What's the crazy part? People like Joe Biden, Jake Sullivan, Jake Tapper, basically the entire Republican Party need to be put in prison for the Gaza genocide. I mean, she's not just saying that. Oh my God, your jealousy is coming through the screen, Lamau. Maureen Galindo, a Democrat running for Congress in Texas 35, says in an Instagram post that she would turn an ICE detention center near San Antonio into a prison for American Zionists and will also use it as a castration processing center for pedophiles, which will probably be most of the Zionists. Yes, it's real. Yes, the post is still up. She has a runoff election next week. She literally won. She won the fucking primary with like $11,000. Okay. It's insane. Like, what do they see in her? I mean, is this really a question? Is it really a question? Yes, it's a mirror. That's what they see in her. They see in her exactly the energy that they see inside of them. Okay. Come on, man. We're talking about the American electorate. We are talking about American voters. Okay. What do you mean? Why don't leftists want to insane Marjorie Taylor Greene style them stop being pussies and get crazy with it? I mean, dude, I was already initially skeptical of Graham Plattner. What are we talking about? This is beyond the pale, dude. She's absolutely a kook in every way, shape, or form. It's funny because like she has all of the right qualities as far as like being a tenant organizer and all this stuff. Yeah, they're using this to attack track AIPAC too. Like I said, I'm not, I'm just, I don't know what San Antonio wants, but the Democratic Majority for Israel PAC statement on Maureen Galindo calling for internment camps for American Zionists. Look, God forbid a woman do anything. Okay. Yeah, she literally said Jews control Hollywood and the banks. What are we doing, bro? She's not a normal anti-Zionist. Lamont. No, I never said that. I'm not saying that at all. She's not. She is. This is a no-no. I'm not saying that she is a normal anti-Zionist. I'm saying that she might be perfect for Texas. She's not my candidate, okay? But
say that I want billionaire Zionists in prison, that does not mean I want Jews in internment camps. So why am I getting a whole bunch of death threats and MAGA insults? Which actually makes sense, I realize. Like MAGA and Jewish Zionists apparently are the exact same people. They talk the exact same way, and that's because MAGA is the developing Christian Zionism. That's how they want to create a religion state in the United States of America, is through MAGA, which that's the goal of Zionism, is to create these white supremacist religion states. So like, I don't care what religion you are. If you are a Zionist, meaning that you believe that you are just entitled to land, or someone's just entitled to land based off of religious beliefs, and that you'll kill all of the Semites for it.
Why is she wearing those toy glasses? I mean, did you expect anything different? She talks about you in the next one? No.
Then yeah, I think that you're a danger to humanity and belong in prison, especially if you have the political and economic resources to make that happen. And that's how we will get all of the billionaire Zionists in prison, is through all of the business. When I say that I want billionaire Zionists in prison.
No, she doesn't. Y'all are such fucking dickheads, dude. Bro, I don't think you want the smoke, man. I've never been this scared for you. I am scared. No, I'm not going to invite her on the show. You guys are such fucking assholes, dude. Okay? What's wrong with you? That what she's saying is quite literally what mainstream media wants me to say so they can create a convincing narrative that I'm anti-Semitic. She mentions you in the other video on her page when she was in a car. Oh, God. Oh, no. This one? I heard that Hassan Piker is a popular leftist Twitch streamer.
Popular leftist Twitch live streamer, went in a deep dive on me, on my anti-Zionism on his page. And I just hope that he saw that almost everybody in San Antonio agrees with me. And it's not because we're anti-Jew.
I agree. Hey, to be fair, I did say she might be perfect for San Antonio. Oh, I believe her. I'm just saying, it's not for me, okay? I don't live in San Antonio. I don't want to be a carpetbagger. I don't want to touch this race, okay? I think she might be right, bro. No, that's my suspicion as well. The SA does not fuck with her, but normies here like her a lot. Yeah, okay, I am the one who also said that, okay? I'm the one who also said that. God, American politics is so busted. I mean, what do you say to this? Do you think Professor Jiang likes this kind of white woman? Maybe. Who knows? Dude, you just read an article that says she did not say that. I hate you. You just believed it. She keeps saying Zionists, not Jews. Okay, this is actually the thing that is unbelievably frustrating. Chatter. She quite literally says Zionist Jews are most likely pedophiles in the fucking statement. What are you talking about? That deserve to be castrated. You can't say shit like that. Okay? Jesus Christ. Dude, just fucking shut up, okay? Seriously, you're causing me to put my fucking foot down.
To do with it. And I also hope he found all of the connections between Zionism and San Antonio.
A lot of these subs or unironically fuck with this reactionary shit, man. They are literal Galindo heads in here asking you to stream with her. Jesus Christ, dude. Oh my God. Oh my God. Some of you guys are literally turning into you know what this is? You know what this reminds me of? There was a cartoonish depiction of the left, SJWs, right? This was, delicately crafted by the Republican side in the commentary field. Okay? And throughout peak woke, I constantly found myself at odds with, at the time, long-term community members who would behave in that exact same cartoonish ways. Okay? Nowadays, instead of the cartoonish depiction of the hysterical SJW or whatever the fuck that Republicans would present the left as, this woke scold who thinks like all matter of fun is counter-revolutionary behavior. Now that's turned into the cartoonish depiction of anti-Zionists. Okay? There are a lot of people in the media that are actively trying to depict the anti-Zionist movement with this broad brush where there are, crazy people who just like literally want to castrate Jewish billionaires and bankers that own Hollywood or whatever the fuck. Like that's the way that they talk about people like myself. And then some of you turn around and go, no, actually, actually, we should hand it to her. Like, actually, we should hand it to her. Like, I'm obviously, having fun over here because of how fucking insane American politics is. But like, there's a difference between me going out to bat for a person that's saying unhinged things like that. Okay, you're insane. I think it's an interesting evolution in the realm of it's an interesting evolution in the realm of American political discourse. Now we have a basket case, not dissimilar to Marjorie Taylor Greene in some respects, okay, on the Democratic Party side. But I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole is what I'm saying, okay? You're just jealous that there's a new shining beacon of leftist intelligentsia. You claim to be a massive leftist political commentator and a Professor Chiang fan, but she has done much more for the lefto-Jiangus cause than you ever can. Just hold your L. Hassan Doan Piker is true. Yeah, this is one of those things where I'm like, I'm watching from afar. Okay? I personally am watching from afar. It's not my kind of politics. Although there are some things that she's done in the past as a tenant organizer that, is great. I'm not going to disparage that. But this is the most Professor Jung fan who's running for office I've ever seen. The tenant organizing is the craziest part to me. No. I've said this before. You got to be a little crazy to go against entrenched power, corporate power, the power of fucking developers in the real estate lobby. To go against landlords, you have to be a little crazy. A little crazy is, good in certain instances. I mean, she was, I think she was like straight up homeless back in the day too. Anyway, let's see what else she had to say.
And Israel and San Antonio, and why this is so important to expose. And also, I don't know if there was the impression that this is like a huge part of my campaign, because that's what I got a couple messages about, like, hey, I agree with you, but you don't need to make this part of your campaign. It never was. It was never part of my campaign. It was something that I said before I was ever a candidate, before I ever knew I would be running for Congress. And honestly, is that not?
Yeah, sometimes she sounds completely normal, and then other times this is, again, the Professor Jung conundrum, okay? Sometimes she sounds truly with the utmost moral conviction and clarity. And then the 20% of the times she says stuff that is insane. That's it. Here's the thing. Professor Jung does this all the time, and he's one of the most popular political commentators in the country right now. So clearly, there is a market demand for this kind of thing. I will never fill that void. I can't possibly fill that void. It's not who I am. I think I'm not only far too pragmatic, but maybe have a different understanding of the world. She blames local media sensationalizing and hope you didn't fall for that. I mean, I've seen her words. It's not just the local media sensationalizing. I've heard the words just coming out of her mouth.
And I hope that he just didn't fall for all of the sensation.
This is how Texan normies see you, by the way. What? What do you mean? Texas normies see me as what? Saying that I want concentration camps for American Jewish Zionist billionaires that need to be castrated because there's a likelihood that they're pedophiles? I have not said that and don't think that and would never say that regardless. As funny as she is, I low-key think her winning would be pretty bad because she lends credibility to anti-Semites hiding behind anti-Zionism. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Michael from Pennsylvania's assessment on her is probably a little bit like this is a byproduct of the way that this conversation has been had in the worst possible ways, okay? I don't think she has the political education. I think she's just like responding to what she has seen and has been led astray and has like an insane set of beliefs otherwise. Like, this is how Clifton Ship be ready to be a cowboy, buddy. I don't even know what that means. Yeah. It's classic tailism, no? Oh, for sure. I mean, an endorsement from me would be that. I wouldn't do that. She's bringing Sharia law to Texas? Hell yeah, brother. This is what we call this Marxism from first principles in the intelligentsia. This is not Marxism at all. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, I don't think she's like a well-read, ideologically well-read anti-Semitic neo-Nazi or anything like that, who's like making the deliberate choice to be like, oh no, I think all Jews, but also at the same time, I'm just gonna, I know enough to not say all Jews, and instead I'm saying Zionists. Like, very clearly it's the exact opposite of that, where I don't think she's like, that would require her to have a sophisticated position to shelter her true opinions. You see what I mean? And I don't think there is that in there at all, if that makes sense. Like, I think she's just looking at the situation and has arrived at this like very dangerous conclusion because of what she has seen thus far and how like what she has learned from you know, the horrors that she's seen. And on top of that, the fact that, you know, you got
key tests already
Jewish institutions being like, no, we love this shit. Ironically, Maureen Galindo is exactly what I have warned about, right? Maureen Galindo is exactly what I've warned about. And what I mean by that is average Americans, when you constantly fucking harp on a certain note, are going to learn the wrong lessons. Maureen Galindo is exactly what happens when every Jewish institution is like, no, we love Israel. What the fuck are you talking about? Shut up. Like, you're anti-Semitic. Remember what Ezra Klein was talking about as well? When he said, if you keep telling people that Judaism and Zionism are inseparable and Jews in Israel are inseparable, they will learn that. That's it. That's the fucking lesson. Is what Felix meant when he said you're really going to hate what comes next? No, she's not what you would hate in terms of what comes next. But I do think that her success thus far is exactly the warning that I've been issuing. Yeah, I already told you she's a Jongist. We know. She is a Professor Jong fan. It's just really funny because she's like very clearly saying a lot of insane and anti-Semitic things. But she's also, on the other hand, unbelievably woke. Like, all on the other issues, she's like, we need to just like reorient the ICE concentration camps. We need to abolish ICE, and we need to put the ICE officers in the fucking ICE detention facilities instead. It's like that. So that's why I said this is like unique territory. It's fresh ground. We've never seen anything like it before. Thanks to Dave Weigel for this. Very cool. You don't have to ask them twice. Dems want her to lose and are furious at the mysterious pop-up pack lead left that is running ads for her. I'm rarely shocked, but this heinous anti-Semitic statement is truly shocking. Every elected Democrat needs to publicly condemn this immediately. I'm going to be honest with you. I think you just don't fucking pay attention to this shit. Okay, that's it. That's my attitude on this. Like this whole like, ooh, condemn this now. Like, no, don't play that fucking game, okay? Because Republicans never do. Republicans never do. Yeah, I'll condemn it. I'll condemn it when the Republicans get together and fucking censure Randy Fine. How about that? Censure Randy Fine and I'll condemn it every damn day of the week. How about that? Yeah, you first. But of course, Democrats will absolutely eat the bait, as they always do, to be like, oh, look at me. I'm so good. I'm so good. Like, even if it's objectionable, which it is, okay? It is objectively objectionable speech. Democrats constantly just fucking engage in this dumbass game where they lose all the fucking time. Republicans never do. Learn from the Republicans. Okay? Yeah, the teacher's pet instinct latent in the Democratic Party. Also, I think even if they did condemn her, it might actually work in her favor. I'm going to say it one more time. I think she might be the perfect candidate for San Antonio. Not for me. Not for me. I don't agree. But San Antonio might be different. That's all I'm saying. We've never had something like this. We've never had a real, true Marjorie Taylor Greene style candidacy. Like, complete reversal of Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? Where you got a person who is like hyper woke on every issue and then perhaps maybe fell off the deep end on some others. Look at the map. Is San Antonio and half of Austin? She's absolutely perfect for those votes. JW Panzer, you probably say the same stuff about me if I wanted to run. Like what? You're gonna fucking run and be like, yeah, we need to castrate Zionist Jewish pedophile billionaires? That's an insane thing to say, chatter. What the fuck is wrong with you? You want to set up, even if it's not for the way she set it up. She said she wants to take the. I mean, this is her post, by the way. That's why I'm saying like it's kind of crazy. Okay. When Maureen gets into Congress, she'll write legislation so that all Zionism and support for Zionism is undoubtedly anti-Semitic since the Zionists harming the Semites. She'll turn Carnes ICE detention center into a prison for American Zionists and former ICE officers for human trafficking. It will be a castration process center for pedophiles, which will probably be most of the Zionists. Streets are saying you're misquoting Maureen. No, she in other instances she talked about like control over Hollywood and the banking system and stuff like that. Yes, she's a Professor Young fan. Quite honestly, there are violent and unpredictable mutations of U.S. politics underway in many different directions that could make the current period seem relatively stable and placid. I agree with this assessment. Is Wemby endorsing her? I don't think so.
Trump's endorsement in some of these races, we know that he's endorsed in that Senate race. Does it make a difference?
Maureen Galindo is a perfect example of what happens when contradictions worsen and there isn't enough class consciousness and political education. A lot of you think I'm on some nerdy shit when I say it's very important to engage in the theory and develop a fully fleshed out way of thinking about these sorts of things. Okay? But that's what happens when you're rudderless, when you just like kind of experience the contradictions, and she certainly has. I mean, she was homeless for a period of time and doesn't have the appropriate political language and doesn't have the appropriate political education. It's important not to fall victim to the dude. She's getting a Mersheimer interview too. The crank is too strong. Wait, what? She's not getting a Mersheimer interview. She is? Mersheimer's going to talk to her before me.
They're certainly seeing a lot of it. It's unclear, though, how much it is really swaying the way that people are thinking about this election, I will tell you. But, of course, we're in Buckhead, so we're just outside of Atlanta, so it'll be interesting to see what folks in the rest of the state are thinking as well.
Priscilla Thompson live for us there in Georgia. Priscilla, thank you very much. 15 minutes now until the polls close in
She's going on the PBD Valuetainment podcast next week. Oh, my God.
that state. We will be watching that very closely.
Yes, as we continue to watch what's happening in Georgia. Ryan Nobles joining us at the table.
Nice of you to join.
Great to see you. Let's start with Georgia, since we just heard from Priscilla there. You heard about the enthusiasm on the ground. This is one of the fascinating races that we're watching as Republicans try to unseat Senator Jon Ossoff. And again, it bears repeating, President Trump did not endorse in this Senate race. So you have two representatives running against former football coach Derek Dooley, who was endorsed by Governor Brian Kemp. I guess the question is, will that give Derek Dooley any momentum? And is this actually a gettable seat for Republicans? Jon Ossoff's pretty popular.
Yeah, I think we should take a step back and talk about Brian Kemp's role in all of this. Before he endorsed Derek Dooley, he was heavily recruited by the Republican leadership to run himself. He's a very popular governor in that state, would have probably easily won this race against Jon Ossoff if he had decided to get in. But for whatever reason, he decided he did not want to be a United States Senator and decided to sit it out. That was a huge loss in the recruitment efforts for Senate Republicans.
For a guy who's got an 85% approval rating among Republicans in that state, that's huge.
Exactly. And somebody who has successfully found a way to buck Donald Trump on occasion and still maintain a level of popularity among Republican voters. He was really the dream candidate for the Republican Party in a state like Georgia, which, even though it tilts red, has proven to be a swing state, especially in these statewide elections. So that was the first difficult entry that the Republicans had into this Senate race. The second thing was that they couldn't get Donald Trump to pick a candidate. And Brian Kemp desperately wanted him to endorse Derek Dooley, who was the guy that he went out as a childhood friend, the son of a very popular football coach there. And Trump just wasn't interested. You have Mike Collins, who kind of identifies himself.
Damn, this guy's good.